All right. Good evening and welcome to the December 4th, 2023 meeting of the City of Summit Zoning Board of Adjustment. My name is Stephen Spur and I'm chairman of the Summit Zoning Board. In accordance with New Jersey Statute 10:4-10, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to a newspaper of record and has been posted here in City Hall. This meeting is a judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to the issues that are relevant to what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision, and decorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. For the benefit of the interested public, this meeting is being live streamed to the city's YouTube page and also broadcast on Summit's government channel, which is Comcast Channel 34 and Verizon Channel 30. Please note that fire exits are to my right, your left, and at the back of the room where you entered. The city has a listening system to assist the hearing impaired. If anyone needs hearing assistance, please obtain the system at the dais. There we go, there's our audio at least, and return it thereafter. Andy Ball is the zoning board's attorney. He will advise board members on matters of law and is the key interface with an applicant's attorney. Mr. Ball does not vote on the applications. Stephanie Sulios is a city employee and the zoning board secretary. Ms. Sulios assists applicants with the preparation of their applications, planning our agendas, and keeping our meeting minutes. Ms. Sulios does not vote on the applications. Our board consists of 7 regular members and up to 4 alternates. All members can participate in the hearings tonight, but a maximum of 7 can vote. Most applications require a simple majority to be approved. Some applications require 5 affirmative votes to be approved. You will be told which majority will be required before we begin our deliberations. Ms. Sulios, will you please call the roll of the members?
Sure. Chairman Spur?
Here.
Vice Chairman Steiner?
Here.
Ms. Newell is excused. Mr. Gonzalez?
Here.
Mr. Mullen is excused. Mr. Millay?
Here.
Mr. Loikitz?
Here.
Ms. Toth?
Here.
Ms. Sager? Here. Mr. Feskins is expected but not present. You have Mr. Yuko.
Here.
Sorry. You have a quorum. You may proceed.
Okay. We generally hear the applications in the order they are listed on the agenda. We try to have each hearing last no more than 30 minutes, but do understand that some applications are too complex to be heard within that time frame. Each hearing begins with the applicant or their attorney giving an overview of the application and the variances that are required. We then hear from any expert witnesses the applicant may have to help explain their application and why the variances are needed. The board members may ask questions of the applicant, their attorney, and the expert witnesses. Once the board professionals and board members have completed their questioning, the public will have an opportunity to ask questions. This is not the time to tell us what you think about this application. That opportunity comes at the end of the hearing. Before you ask your questions, please clearly state your name, spell your last name, and provide your address. It is important that our court reporter be able to keep a clear and accurate public record. The court reporting is hopefully, we'll see, occurring over the audio-visual system here, so we'll see how that goes this evening. After all witnesses have been heard, members of the interested public have their second opportunity to speak, and at that time, you may express your opinion, positive or negative, about the application. Then the public hearing is closed, and we enter into executive session where board members discuss the application and vote. You will be able to listen to our executive session, but you will not normally be able to participate in our discussion. Most applications are heard and decided in the same evening. If an application requires additional information or testimony that cannot be presented tonight, we will carry your application to another date, and it will not be decided during this meeting. Krista Anderson, the city zoning officer, has asked that I remind all applicants that they must carefully read the resolution documenting the zoning board's decision and to pay particular attention to the conditions contained in the resolution. For example, if a landscaping plan is required, you must obtain one and submit it to John Linson, the city's forester. If a grading plan is required, you must have one prepared by a civil engineer and submit 3 copies along with the application fee to the city's engineering division. Failure to satisfy all conditions in a resolution will result in a delay in approving your application, as it will necessitate additional follow-up from zoning and other city staff. The resolutions documenting the board's decision will normally be available 1 month after we decide the application. Before we jump into our public hearing, I'll ask you to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We have 3 applications to be heard tonight, a couple of resolutions for memorialization, minutes for approval, and I'll just note for anyone who's following extra close, we're going to bump the 2024 calendar adoption before our executive session where we'll discuss RFQs for next year's appointments of our board attorney, engineer, and planner. So if you're following that close or plan to stay that late, I should say. What I'll ask you to do is just one representative of each of the applications just quickly come up here to the podium. Just want to hear If you have anybody with you this evening, an attorney, any expert witnesses, and approximately how much time you think it'll take to complete your application. So where's Jose tonight, Jennifer? You can come up first. Do you have anyone with you tonight?
He is not with me today.
Okay.
He was gonna be, so he got back early, but barely. So
Okay.
I was like, you don't.
So he's watching from home. Okay. Do you have any experts with you? Anybody?
Don't.
Okay, all right, so you'll be particularly expeditious, I suspect, then. Excellent, thank you very much. Next, we'll hear on the agenda would be 64 Blackburn Road, Brad or Michelle Olson, or Sam, hello?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Samantha Alfonso of Alfonso and Weber on behalf of the applicants, Brad and Michelle Olson.
Okay, any experts with you this
We
evening?
have two experts and the applicant.
Two experts and the applicant, and sorry, it doesn't look like our screens are going to work for you. Do you have printed copies or anything
We
else?
do.
Okay, in addition to what the board
It
has,
might-
naturally.
It might just be my.
Maybe. Sam's had good luck in the
We'll
past,
try.
so we'll try. Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then next would be 502 Morris and 5 Lowell, Thomas Holdings LLC. Hillary, hello?
Hello, Hillary Alls from Dempsey and Sheehan, representing Thomas John Holdings LLC. We have the applicant and 4 experts.
Okay, that should be a little more than 30 minutes, we
Yes.
suspect. Thank you. Okay, Jennifer, we'll have you up first.
Okay, so I can't.
You want to try
show
your,
it,
you want to
but
try again, or we're going to call it?
Let's see if this is magical.
All right, everyone say a little prayer for Jennifer and her computer here. No, all right.
Not happy.
We're going to
Hello,
swear you,
how's the
we'll swear
plan?
you in first then, and I think what you wanted to present was largely what you may have already provided to the board.
It's exactly the same.
Okay,
Except
excellent.
for the extra sheet.
Okay.
What I gave you prior, plus that one sheet.
Let's swear you in
Raise
and
your
get
right
to
hand.
it.
Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please state your name and spell your last name.
Jennifer Balson, Balson.
Thank you.
Okay, tell us about your application.
Okay, so this is for a AC condenser that's 2 feet by 2 feet by 2 feet. And it's a replace in-kind location where a condenser had been since '84 or actually earlier. It's on the rear of the house. Our house is a carriage house to 100 Woodlands, so our lot is very long. And if you look at the site plan, oops. First, I show you an aerial in your packet, and you can see that all the houses on Sherman line up, except for ours, where the big red dot is. It's set way back. So the rear lot line of all the houses is where the front face of our house is. So it preceded this development in the 1930s on Sherman. And so our rear yard setbacks, our rear yard in total is much shorter than average. So then, if you just go to the page with the survey, you can see the little yellow dot. That is where the AC condenser has been since the early 80s. And then the next one is a close-up, the next sheet, of where that's located. And just so you know, the properties to the right of our rear yard face woodland and have very deep lots. And there's nothing, no houses on either side of us because we're offset from all the neighboring homes. So then if you go to the next sheet, you can see a picture of the AC condenser and the rear of the house. And then the next slide shows the measurements. It's 24 inches square. And then this slide shows a view from the front, the side of the house, but facing to the rear. And it shows the line of evergreens and then the little corner of the AC condenser you can see at the edge of the house. And then the next slide is, on Google Earth, I did measurements from the current location to a compliant location, which would actually be in the front of the house to meet the rear yard setback requirement. It would actually have to go to the front of the house. And that would be 54 feet from my neighbor's LOPA. And the current location is actually 97 feet from LOPA. So it's a better location for her. And then I just give examples of similar, it's further from, the current location's further from Joe at 23 Sherman. It's 87, it would be, the compliant location's 87 feet from Joe, and it's 122 feet where it is now. And then from Woody at 100 Woodland, it's 130 feet. And it would be a little further from the compliant location, but it's still 133 feet from him. It's 101 feet from the back of 90 Woodland. And it is 128 feet from the rear deck of 86 Woodland. So that's all I have, except for I added a couple of sheets based on the zoning officer's comments about screening.
So just maybe we'll enter this as Exhibit A1. This is new for today.
A1.
Perfect.
And so you can see a little yellow, we handed them out, Stephanie was kind enough to hand them out. The little yellow arrow on the top photo shows where the AC condenser unit, when you're just facing that side of the house from the south, it's not visible because it's all surrounded by evergreens back there that we planted. And then the second photo at the bottom, there's an arrow at the top, but if you just follow the face of the house, the AC condenser unit's back there, and I'm standing in the neighbor's yard in both photos. So it's quite concealed. So, do you have any questions?
Do you have any opinion about Krista's note about the screening requirement?
Right, she said it's kind of screened anyway, and that's why I showed this, because we put arborvitae all the way around the back. So I think it's in essence screened.
Okay.
It's quite close on the south side, the top picture. And then it's roughly 20 feet at the rear.
I'll just note that John Linston, who's not shy about recommending screening, has no objection
Right.
to this application.
Okay. Maria, is there anything from the engineering side that you
No,
want to
there's-
particularly flag?
No, I don't have anything.
No? Okay.
No, there's just the question you didn't ask is when did you take these pictures and do they fairly represent the existing conditions
Yes,
today?
I just took them.
I'm
And
slipping.
That's
That's
and
right.
the A was today.
Thank you.
So, very, very recent.
Children.
All right. For this particularly complicated application, any other questions from members of the board? No? Are there any members of the interested public here? Wants to scream bloody murder? No?
Happy
Want
to
their
show
air conditioning, I
photos.
think, right? Yeah, I think that's okay. The only question I have for you, Andy, is we want to make sure there's sufficient kind of muscle within the resolution for this. What conceivably in a hypothetical situation like this would be a benefit we would want to be able to speak to?
So I assume a new air conditioning condenser is more functional for your home and probably more energy efficient than the existing condenser that was installed in 1984.
Decades old,
Yeah.
yes. And it's for the attic, so it's really hot up there.
Okay.
I think that's a relatively clear benefit.
All right, energy efficiency, or scraping the bottom of the barrel here, but I'll take it, right? Okay.
It's better for the environment.
Yeah, there we go, all right.
And there are no
Better for
negatives.
our.
And there is no negatives. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's a
there-
newer unit, yeah.
I don't think there's any conditions the only condition I can think of is we would ask for your acknowledgement of the engineer's letter, which is just
Mhm.
standard form.
Yep.
So that would be the only condition
Mhm.
that I can imagine. Okay. Offer again the public any opportunity to ask questions or share comments? No? It'll be a short night for you, Jennifer, but longer than some others.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so let's, then with the one condition as noted, we can open our deliberations here. I got kind of teased what we think the argument in favor may be, so if anybody wants to grab this piece of low-hanging fruit, it only gets more difficult as the evening proceeds. Go,
I
please.
would say that this is a fairly simple, straightforward situation that we can easily put to bed without getting too in the
Yeah.
weeds about it,
Mhm.
and I would support.
Could support it, okay. I got one in support. Anyone care to elaborate upon?
I mean, I'll say a
Go
few
ahead,
words.
Tom.
It's
Yeah.
definitely improvement. I mean, it's a more efficient unit, I'm sure. Sure, it's a quieter unit. It's in the same location it's been for decades. Nobody can see it unless they really, really try to want to see it. So I can't see any possible reason to object to it.
All right. And I agree, oftentimes in these situations, we're searching for some kind of negative impact, especially because of the newness of the unit, expense aside, sorry guys. It should be quieter, it should provide, certainly energy efficiency is a compelling argument for that attic space to be cooler for longer, many happy decades of use we hope ahead. And really, again, provide no discernible difference, if not frankly an improvement to the neighbors, not just around energy efficiency or what have you, but especially sound is something we consider carefully and is important to consider in the context of we're not requiring any additional screening, that the existing screening is sufficient to buffer any potential noise that may arise from the unit. So with that, the condition is noted. I would move to approve the application.
So moved.
Move to a second.
Second.
All right.
Scott can have it.
Scott gets it. Stephanie, roll call.
Vice Chairman Steiner,
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mr. Malay, Mr. Loiketz,
Yes.
Ms. Toth,
Yes.
Ms. Sager,
Yes.
Chairman Spur.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you very much. You're welcome. All right. Can't promise the same efficiency for everyone, but she set a good standard here. We'll hear next 64 Blackburn Road. So, Sam, if you'd like to join us, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just note for the record that Mr. Feskins has joined us.
Sorry for my tardiness. Trains are having fun right now.
I'm gonna give it one more try. In case it was the laptop.
There's a remote here too, if we want to try that again, but
In the meantime, Mark, the landscape architect in Edmissum is putting up the rendered landscape plan. And this has been marked A1. Is that right, Stephanie? Yeah. Thank you. Good evening again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
if you can, just mark the corner, and then it needs to go to Stephanie at the conclusion of the hearing. So.
This application concerns 64 Blackburn Road, Block 3103, Lot 32. This lot and most of Blackburn Road sits on Oak Knoll Hill. The home, designed by the talented Kim Tone, is nearly complete. Brad and Michelle Olson have settled on the outdoor details, which require a steep slope variance to allow approximately 2,719 square feet of steep slope disturbance where 1,000 square feet is permitted. The additional 1,700 over the permitted is mainly for the front wall and pillars along Blackburn, the retaining walls at the rear, and the realignment of the driveway. Does the board have any questions of me before we bring
I
up?
believe so. I would just ask, is there any member of the interested public here for this application other than the applicants? You are, okay. So how it will work essentially is after each witness, we'll give you the opportunity to ask questions, and then at the very end, we'll swear you in, you can share your opinion if you so choose. Thank you. Okay. We can move to the next witness then.
Thank you. If I could introduce Brad Olson.
All right.
Would you raise your right hand?
Raise your right hand
Raise your
for us.
right hand,
Yep.
please. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. Please state your name and spell your last name.
Bradley Olson, O-L-S-O-N.
Thank you.
Thank you. Brad, you own the property at 64 Blackburn Road,
Yes, my wife Shelley and I are joint owners.
and she's here tonight as well. That's right. What brought you to Summit?
Well, I grew up in Summit, and my wife and I moved back. I moved back with her kicking and screaming back 20 years ago, and she's happier than she would ever thought she would be in this town. And we lived on Colt Road, where we did a renovation a while back and did extensive landscaping and redid a Tudor, you know, in line with sort of the original architect and design from 1927.
Thank you. Can you please describe the existing property?
It is, the house is almost complete. And, you know, as we've, the house is kind of set back a bit up a hill on Blackburn. And as we've done construction and realized how we want to live there for the next 20, 30 years or more, we realized that there were some necessary improvements that we needed from a landscaping point of view.
Thank you. And part of that was for accessibility, is that right?
Yes, one of the reasons we're committed to staying Summit longer term and have built this house is for my mom, who had an accident a number of years ago, and we've made the house very accessible for her. We put in an elevator, we put in a handicap ramp. You know, we're making the yard more accessible in this proposal as well. Although she doesn't live with us, she will visit. She visits every Sunday night for dinner and most often another time during the week. So we're excited to host her in our new house.
Thank you. And with that, can you please describe the rest of the proposal? You did it a little bit, but if you could describe it a little bit further.
Sure. We would like to put a wall along the front sidewalk of the front of the property by the sidewalk, comparable to what exists on a couple houses along the street. We'd like to do that, you know, with a consistent sort of masonry look to what we've done with our fireplace and our foundation. Then we would like to put a retaining wall, 2 walls. The landscape designer can describe the dimensions, et cetera, in the rear yard to be able to provide a more usable yard in the back, and then a small change to the driveway.
Yeah, and that's just a little bit wider here, right?
Yep. Yep, and the stone wall in the front, and then the retaining walls up along the back and a little bit down the left and a tiny bit down the right side.
And then you're reconfiguring your backyard patio.
Yes.
And kitchen.
Yes, from the original proposal, we moved the pool slightly forward and made, I think, some minor changes to some of the walkways. Again, the only variance we're requesting is for the steep slope.
Thank you. And did you have a chance to review the administrative reports of the board's professionals?
I did. I reviewed it with Mark Nissim, my landscape designer, and Rudy from Yanacone, and you know, everything looked very reasonable, and we're committed to adhering to all the comments that have been raised by the city staff.
Thank you. And did you have a chance to speak with any of your neighbors?
I did. A few neighbors who, you know, unsolicited came forth and said, you know, happy to support you on this. And I did reach out to a neighbor behind me and had a conversation with them. They're at 3 Manor Hill. And we just had a discussion around the type of retaining wall and the type of fence. At the time, we were uncertain whether we were going to use aluminum spaced black fence, or whether we're going to use a board-on-board. You know, they both asked questions. My wife and I sat down with them last week in their kitchen and dining room and went through the plans with them. We had we told them we decided to do a board-on-board fence, and they had asked about landscaping, et cetera, and I shared my thoughts with, or shared that with my landscape designer, and circled back with them, and they said, sounds good. And I reached out to one other neighbor who's adjacent to me, but I had not heard back.
Okay.
Okay.
So just
What
put
are
a
more-
very
yeah.
fine point on it though,
Mhm.
Sam, is the location of the pool, any other improvements that are under discussion are all conforming. Is it within the necessary side
Yes.
backs? There's no additional lot coverage that we're asking for here. It's
Correct.
the configuration has required steep slope disturbance.
Yeah, and to allow for regrading of the front and rear yards for accessibility and for usability.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to have Mr. Olson?
That's it for him. If the
Okay.
board has any questions of him or.
Any questions of the board for the applicant?
Did I hear you say that there's a landscape designer?
Yes.
I'll ask a question.
Thank you.
So I heard a landscape architect, and is there, who
And
else?
there we have an engineer.
And we have an engineer?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so Marie will get your at-bat soon enough. Did you have any questions for, sorry, I'll keep looking at you every time here. Sorry to pick on you. Okay, you can actually speak with both the professionals then probably. Okay,
Perfect.
excellent. So hearing no questions from the public or from the board, we'll let you go. You can stay there if you're comfortable, or you can sit back, whatever you like.
Thank
We'll
you.
hear your next witness.
Yeah.
Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
Mark, M-A-R-C, Nissim, N-I-S-S-I-M. I'm the owner of Harmony Design Group. We're located in Westfield, New Jersey. I'm a licensed landscape architect in the state of New Jersey and New York, and I have been before this board before, probably last year, and several other boards in the area.
Any questions from the board, or would you like to accept them once again?
We'll accept your credentials. Welcome back.
Great, thank you. So Harmony Design Group was brought into the project after the foundation was already in place and the house was going up. We designed the entire driveway sequence, front walkway, planting plans, location of the swimming pool, rear patio, outdoor kitchen. And as you heard from Mr. Olson, all of those pieces are all conforming, and we've received permits and we're underway construction on all of those pieces. What we're asking for today is to level off the left corner of the yard, and I don't know if I'll have a mic if I go over there, so maybe I'll just stay here.
The standing mic right there might work. There's a standing mic back there if you want to try a little improv. Just give it a tap. I'm not sure if it's on.
Does that work?
Yeah, there we go.
All right, awesome.
Something's working tonight.
Great. All right, so this is the landscape rendered plan that our office prepared. It is the same plan that you have in black and white. We just added color to it. So we're looking in the left corner of the property. This is going downhill. We're looking to flatten and level off the backyard here to create some more usable space, a little bit more level lawn space in order to do so.
Come up maybe here, you can angle it. Okay, yeah.
Okay,
all right.
I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
continue. I just want to make sure, she has a question on planting, so I want
Okay.
to make sure she hears you loud and clear. so. You did, okay, excellent, sorry.
Okay.
Continue.
So in order to level off this piece of the yard, we're going to propose 2 retaining walls, a series of retaining walls. They're about 3 to 4 feet tall. They're going to be constructed out of a modular block, concrete block unit. And there'll be plantings between the walls. And one of the comments that Mr. Olson's rear neighbor came to us and asked was, and I believe it's also on one of the comments from the professionals from the town was, how and what were we going to plant between the lower wall and the fence? Our plan is to put ornamental grasses in there. Now we're talking about using a board-on-board 6-foot tall, basically solid fence. So the rear neighbor's not going to really see the walls because of the fencing, but to make sure that that area doesn't turn, doesn't look bad, we're going to use ornamental grasses, which are very low maintenance, only have to be cut back once a year. So somebody really only has to go down there once a year and do the maintenance on that, and also take the rest of the leaves out, this time of year. So that's going to be added to the landscape plan there. That came out of our conversations with the rear neighbor. The other piece that we're going to really add is a retaining wall that parallels the sidewalk on Blackburn. And as Mr. Olson described, the house has a natural thin stone veneer with a concrete block construction. There's a wall along the left property line that's been constructed as per, as per the plans and was allowed to be built. We're gonna match the stone on that and build that across the front. That's going to, create a nice stone wall across the front, and there'll be some piers at the entrance.
Mr. Linson made note of some bridging the wall on footings to minimize the root disturbance. Sam probably cringed a little bit when the applicant said he was willing to conform with all the conditions noted in the application, but before you agree to that expense, do you plan to
Yes.
accommodate in the
Yeah,
construction
that's
for the
not
footings?
yeah, that's not a problem. So essentially what he's telling us is instead of just digging a trench all the way down, dig a trench, maybe dig a pier every 6 feet and build a structural grade beam in between those piers and then build your block wall off of that, so you're limiting your points of disturbance, and we're okay with that.
Thank you.
John was another question, right?
Yeah, there were a couple of questions about the trees. We are removing several trees on the application, and there's a total of 41 trees being taken down on the property. Some of them meet the tree requirements to be replaced. Some of them are below the tree requirements. We've been working with Mr. Linson on this project the entire time. 3 of the trees that are actually on the ask for this meeting, basically that are asking to be removed, have already been approved by Mr. Linson, and we've already received permit to remove them, and we've already taken them down, and there's replacements in place as per those approvals.
Are we gonna net essentially out the removals and the replacements?
Oh, we're gonna exceed.
Even better, look at that.
Yeah, we're
All right.
gonna exceed,
I
so.
like your answers.
I'm working with Mr. Linson on making sure that we're using a lot of natives on the new plantings, so, and they're not all just evergreen green giants. One of the requirements that my client asked is that we use a variety of evergreens around the perimeter, and then native flowering trees and shade trees on the interior of the property. And those are labeled on here. Some of the 10 that we have are labeled, like oak, white oaks, which are all over that property, red bud trees, Coosa dogwoods, which isn't a native, but a nice dogwood. And then there's green giants in certain other places, and some flower, and some other shade trees, some other oaks over on this corner. So we're taking down a couple oaks, but we're also replanting new oaks. So that is a plan. I would welcome the board's comments.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Tom, yep.
Yeah, I appreciate that you've been in discussions with Mr. Linson, but I just wonder if for our records and for purposes of a resolution, if we should condition this on formal approval by Mr. Linson of revised plans with everything that witnesses testified to?
Sounds like it's been a very iterative process, but would that be acceptable, the submission of a landscaping plan for review and approval by Mr. Linson? If you've been in contact as you suggest, then it should be an easy
Yes,
approval.
that's not a problem.
Wonderful, thank you.
Otherwise, we answered all my questions. Thank you. Yep.
Okay. Other questions?
I had a couple, because I know, I live not far from here. I know this has been going on for a long time. You said you were brought in. Do you recall specifically when?
Probably a year ago.
Okay,
It was in 2022.
okay.
A year ago.
Okay. This isn't intended to be as snarky as it's going to sound, but there was a previously approved plan back in March with less than 1,000 of steep slope disturbance. Given this lot, a layperson could see this coming. It's sort of like, why didn't you come to us long ago with this? It's sort of, and I'm not quite sure to whom I am asking this question. One of the things we tend to talk about sometimes is variance creep, where you do as much as you possibly can and then come in and ask forgiveness / permission, and this just looks like it could have been foreseen quite a while ago.
What changed?
I'm not sure what I'm supposed to say to that.
Yeah, Brian, I mean, I think that you said it earlier, like, you didn't realize, you know, how inaccessible it would be this way, and now that you've seen it, it became, you know, noticeable in person, that it was gonna be difficult for your family, and I think your mom to access was the big reason.
I think I can comment to Mr. Olson, a couple of things that he's told me during the process. One was, his mother has a handicap van.
Right.
And he couldn't get it into the driveway without the rear tailgate hitting. So he didn't know that until after he started accessing the property with the van. And then I think people just see things, people don't really know what they're getting until they see it. And then when he sees a rocky back slope, which is, that site is all rock, you realize you want a flat lawn.
Yeah.
We can continue that line of questioning with the engineer, because
Okay,
part of,
yeah.
I think, the potential concern could be is this could be terraforming this portion of Summit and causing some, negative impact. I suspect the engineer's gonna tell us, though, that they've thoughtfully regraded and ensured adequate stormwater management. I'm just giving you some tips here, say all these things. And if it's not the case, then there's concern, because otherwise it's
Yeah.
pretty straightforward, right? It's just steep slope disturbance.
Right.
But maybe how we got to the end result isn't in fact desirable. So let's see.
Okay.
Kind of
Okay.
exciting, see how it goes. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, not at this time.
Would you like to ask a question? Yeah, absolutely. we're just gonna need you to come up here to the podium, sorry. And we just need your name and your address, just for the record.
Serena Healy, 60 Blackburn Road.
Okay, and just your question, yeah.
I am the owner of the property that abuts the lower left corner that they were speaking of.
Okay.
Why can't you extend the green giants to the corner to provide privacy to our lot?
Can you show us where? Because I would be happy to.
You were discussing the lower left corner. Here, you created a 6-foot wall and stopped your planting.
Okay.
Here. Here are your green giants.
Yeah,
Stop, leave all open.
well, there's a fence.
Yes, and there is a 6-foot rise on the property that you're talking about
So
backfilling.
we'll just hold for 1 sec. Let's let him ask the question, and
Yeah,
then if
let
we
me
need to,
a-
we'll swear you in and we
Yeah,
can
well,
do testimony.
yeah,
but-
this is not a
Yeah,
problem.
please,
So-
yeah.
And we're happy to work with.
Is that where you're putting the grasses in?
Go ahead.
I got it. So, there's a fence along the property line. Your fence is a couple feet in from that. We're not going on your property. Right, so we just want to be clear that there's going to be double fences there.
Okay.
That is what it is. The green giant or evergreen screening is here. I mean, I don't, there's a space between this fence and here, and we were going to plant ornamental grasses on the backside. I mean, it's up to Mr. Olson if he would be okay. I'm sorry, what?
Go ahead, you guys can talk.
So I think, Serena, if your question is, we're gonna have a 6-foot fence that goes all the way up until there,
Yes.
and it's a wood on wood,
I'm talking about the back corner.
Yeah, she wants green
Back
giants
corner.
here.
oh, you're talking there.
Is it impractical to do that?
it's-
or-
What is practical to fit in that area? I mean, we would like,
Right, so
Screening ourselves.
there's about three or 4 feet, I don't know, I don't have my scale with me, between the retaining wall and the property line. Green giants is, I'm sure almost everybody in this room has one at this point. They grow about 8 to 10 feet wide at the base, so there are evergreen solutions that can be planted in there that would buffer it. Maybe green giant isn't the right solution. Big shrubs, viburnums would do the trick.
Is this something that, so we had asked, assuming that, well, just listen for a second and then I'll let you maybe answer here. So we had asked prior if it was acceptable for the applicant to submit a landscaping plan for review and approval to the city forester. So oftentimes, while the board sees many landscape plans, we're not, I think ourselves, maybe Wally, I don't know, consider ourselves to be arborists, amateur or professional. Would this be something you would feel comfortable working with their landscape architect, the city's forester?
Question
to
is
reach a
really,
solution?
question's
Mhm.
really, if you're going to put this wall in,
Okay,
and my property is at this level.
Yep.
Here's the wall.
Yep.
they've put in grasses or whatever. I see the entire pool, and now they are hanging over our
Mhm.
backyard.
Right.
So I would like something taller. They've taken down a total of 40 trees off of this property.
All right, so we're
No.
creeping out of questions here
Yeah, I
at
know,
the moment then.
but it used to be all filled,
Sure,
and now there's nothing.
right. There are any, do you think there are some plant types that could
Yes.
address this
Yes,
concern?
I think we can definitely plant in some trees in this area to provide some additional buffering.
Even if it's
between-
only this wide? Is
Yeah,
that what you're
there's,
saying?
yeah, there's
3 feet?
emerald green arborvitaes which grow narrower, there's fastigiate spruces which grow narrow. Yeah, they have a full list of narrow growing upright evergreens that we can do.
There's more with the drive.
Okay, I mean, if you'd like to, we can swear you in and you can ask some additional questions or even offer some commentary. Okay, wonderful, thank you. So we may recall you in a moment
No problem.
to address this, but I think what we heard in, as part of the testimony is that we have identified additional vegetative screening to be desirable in that back corner. To the extent it's practical and in conjunction with the neighbor, we'd seek to identify something particular to fill that space. Sure.
So Mr. Olson has done I think, has tried to work with his neighbor, understanding that construction is big disturbance for the whole neighborhood, especially when you're on top of a rock mound and you have rock hammering for 6 months or whatever it was, 4 months. There was some hemlock trees that were adjacent to this retaining wall by the driveway that were on the neighbor's property. We worked with Matt Rada from Bartlett Tree Experts. I worked directly with him and Mr. Linson to try to minimize as best as possible, given the fact that we were approved for this wall, the root disturbance on those trees.
Okay.
There were roots disturbed. Mr. Olson is paying $400 worth of tree fertilization and some maybe aeration on the trees. And the Bartlett Tree Experts was out there last week, which I have a photo of, doing that service.
Right. Okay.
Is that not accurate, 100%? They were out there.
What I just want to make sure happens here is we use this as an opportunity to potentially find some solution, and it's going to weigh in the board's deliberations if we can't find a solution. So let's hear from the engineer. We'll keep their landscape architect sworn in. But if an idea comes to you, same for the applicant, right, that may help address this concern.
We're willing to work with.
Of course, yeah, no, of course. So, all right, so I think we can move to the engineer then. Go ahead. Yep, go ahead, Jay.
Just
Yep.
for you real quick. I understand the disturbances, particularly in the backyard for usability and for around the driveway. The disturbances around creating this front retaining wall, is this leveling out the land? Like, what's the intent
Right.
of everything to the left
The
of the driveway?
the current situation is a very loose rock pile that's on a slope that's not very stable and not very aesthetic. Part of the reason the client would like to do it is definitely an aesthetic. It is definitely aesthetic. The soils on that, like I stated before, it's basically all rock on that property. So somebody at some point piled those rocks on like kind of a 45-degree angle, and that's where they lay with ivy and weeds growing between them. There's no way to really landscape it technically without disturbing it, because you can't plant anything in the rock pile that's there. So even if we were to clean the rocks out, technically we're disturbing it and planting a hedge of boxwood. Anything we do to that unsightly slope is going to technically be disturbance.
I'm ready to hear more from the engineer on that. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a quick question. And I understand a lot of what you're doing to create the ability to, make it handicap accessible, accessibility, and which I totally agree with, and I want to be sure that you have the ability to do. But that rear left corner, to create that, a large portion of your steep slopes variance has to do with filling in and raising up that rear left. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that doesn't have to do with
No.
accessibility?
Maybe the engineer will
Yeah,
talk more to the
okay,
grade.
so we'll save that question for you. Okay.
All right. Hearing no further questions for the landscape architect, we'll hand it over to the engineer. We're going to swear you in, though, before you begin. So
Absolutely. You can raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and spell your last name.
My name is Ryan Smith, R-Y-A-N-S-M-I-T-H. I'm an engineer for Yannico and Vill and Aldrich. I am here because Rudy is sick, and I apologize, but I am his boss, so I should be an adequate stand-in. I have testified before this board before. I am a licensed land surveyor and engineer in the state of New Jersey. My licenses are current, and like I said, I've testified here many times. Pleasure to see you all again. Ma'am, pleasure to meet you.
Any questions from the board, or would you like to accept them once
We'll
again?
accept your credentials. You may proceed.
Thank you. The property itself, if I could maybe unclip. The property itself, as we mentioned before, sits on the ridge line, and the old house sat on the high spot. And if you're standing where the old house and the new house is, it slopes away to the back towards Manor Hill, and it slopes down to the front towards Oak Ridge. I did the soil testing out here myself, so I am familiar with the property. So even though I did not do the design, I am very familiar with the design and very familiar with the soils out here. I dug soil testing in the front yard, soil testing in the backyard. The backyard is by far the best soil on this land. The front yard is rock at 4 to 6 feet. It's absolutely miserable, hence the hammering. I apologize to all of the neighbors for the nightmare that it is. Unfortunately, it's the condition for all of you on this ridge. The backside, however, where they seem to have put all of the stones when they dug these foundations on this hill, was they piled them up in the backyards. So there's a lot of surface rock back there, but there's nothing under it. It's all beautiful sandy soils, which is why I put the dry wells back there, because there's excellent perk in that backyard. That's why the dry wells are located in the back and not in the front. And that's why we did the stormwater mitigation back there. The steep slopes on this lot, if you'll go to, I think it's sheet 2 of Rudy's plan. If you look at sheet 2 of the engineering plans, the steepest slopes are, there are 3 patches of them. 3 patches of them along the front of the existing house, which were man-made slopes when they constructed the house. Again, as was mentioned before, right up by the road, there is a steep patch where it steepens really quick before it dumps down to the road, because it's a cut road. And what they did when they built that road is they piled the rocks up at the ends there and made a stabilized slope. It's not really a rock wall. You wouldn't call it that because it's not really designed. It's where they packed the stones in and made basically a 1-to-1 slope just to stabilize things and keep it from falling into the road. That's what they want to disturb to replace the front area. Now in the back, the property slopes from front to back, but also from right to left. So the steepest slopes are through the middle of the backyard. And you can see them hatched by the hexagonal hatching through here. And when we originally did this plan, we made it clear to Mr. Olson that he was only allowed to disturb 1,000 square feet. So we had to limit the disturbance for his project. And after much consternation, we got him to build a complying application. It was only, as mentioned before, after we had these discussions, and once he started construction, he realized how limited his backyard was going to be. And the only way to flatten that backyard was to just disturb these steep slopes that are kind of in the middle of this backyard. The back left corner is not steep slopes, because it kind of starts to level out as you come to the lot corner. But the middle of the backyard was where the steepest slopes were, and it didn't make sense to leave that steep and have kind of a funneling effect of the water from that backyard running down to the neighbors. It made more sense to remove all the steep slopes and mitigate them by stabilizing them and terracing them, which is what we do when we're trying to do plantings, farmland. We try to make everything as flat as possible. That's how we get rid of steep slopes. That's how we stop erosion, is by making terraces, which is what the landscape architect did with his plan to make this backyard a lot flatter. So what this amounts to, in summing up, is the steep slopes excesses we need are to stabilize this front area and to create a flat backyard and remove the erosional qualities of the steep slopes and the stormwater qualities of the steep slopes for the backyard. That's really the essence of what this was. Now, if there are questions about steep slopes, I'll take those. Otherwise, I'll go into the stormwater component of it.
Let's go to stormwater.
Okay, all right. The stormwater component on the existing plans, we had, if I can get my notes. This is, like we said, except for the steep slopes, a complying application. Building coverage is proposed at 16%, where the maximum is 18%. The lot coverage is at 34.6, where the maximum is 35%. Based on Exhibit 1, which I think was distributed to the board, you can see the differences between the existing approved plan here and the proposed plan here. They did tighten up and drop the coverage by about 100 square feet. I think that was a net decrease from what it was before. We didn't downsize the dry wells when we did that. We just left them the same size. They are designed to accommodate the 5,400 square feet that the net increase was, and which actually they're larger than that. They're about 200 square feet over that. But what originally was here to avoid disturbance of the steep slopes, we've now squared up in the backyard. So that was pretty much the only change. The dry well is fed by roof leaders from the house and the 3 inlets, which really haven't changed much except that they moved configuration when we moved the pool closer to the house. And that's the dry well system.
Any other components of the engineering testimony, or we're going to move to questions?
I think we can move to questions.
See if Marie or Faye has any
Absolutely.
questions from her report, if you want me to go through.
Yeah, just, as far as stormwater or everything, I just want to.
Your report, we might as well
Okay.
go through your report now before we close engineering. I think that's all we have.
Yeah, could you just talk about the overflow that you have?
Okay, the overflow, originally we had the overflow without the walls there. We had it down headed towards the back corner, which is where all of the water naturally flows on this lot anyway. So what we're doing by mitigating the stormwater is reducing the amount of flow that goes there, but there's still going to be anything over the sizing of the dry wells, which is a 3-inch storm in this town, will still be discharging from that corner. When we introduced the walls, we couldn't really come out straight through the wall, so what Rudy did is he designed a bypass going over here and then running down parallel with the lot line so that it doesn't discharge on the neighbor's lot.
And somewhat of the water overflows to the front, right, to the city system?
The existing conditions of the existing driveway do discharge to the road, but we are not mitigating that because really there's no infiltration in the front yard. It's just miserable rock.
So in the backyard then, how is that different than it is currently? What are the neighbors going to actually see when Summit sees its unfortunately increasingly atypical greater than 3-inch storm events? Is it going to flow with greater intensity, concentration,
This is going
different
to be an
direction?
improvement. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Sure, that's okay.
It's an improvement because
Right.
actually the first 3 inches of the storm aren't going to show up at that corner.
Okay, but inches
In the
4,
existing
5, and
condition.
6, what's changing though?
That's because you're taking off that volume at the initial part of the storm. If you're familiar with how storms are formed, we do what's called a TR55 modeling, which makes a storm hydrograph. And basically, it looks like a bell curve where the intensity increases. And obviously, when you see pipes flow, at the beginning of the storm, the water's a little bit, and then it's a lot, and then it's a lot.
Right.
And as the storm subsides, it goes down. We're taking off, basically truncating that bell curve
Right.
from the front end.
Okay. But in terms
And
of,
you're-
if there's still stormwater flowing though, sorry, and this is where I just want to be empathetic with the neighbors there, is it going to come out at a different spot? Is it going to, what's it going to look like?
Well, everything on this lot right now.
They'll have less water, right?
Yeah, they'll
Less
have
drain,
less water.
Right.
you know, because you're flattening the yard,
It's
which
just,
should
just the
reduce,
overflow we're talking about, really.
and there will be some still overflow,
Right.
but they've managed over, you know, what is it, 200 square feet more than you have to in the dry wells. So my understanding.
Can you specifically, just to the engineer, can you specifically explain what the existing conditions are in terms of which direction and which neighbor is getting existing water flow versus what it'll be afterwards.
The same discharge point here is the lowest point on the property. So we have an existing garage and the back half of this house and the patio in the backyard that was originally here before they started construction. All of that drained to the backyard and funneled down to this corner. So now we're capturing all of the impervious coverage that is now being directed to the back, and we're infiltrating it into the dry wells first before we discharge it to that same location. So we're reducing the amount of water that ends up at that corner.
Okay.
And they're 3 big dry wells, right?
Oh, they
We're
are.
not
They're-
talking,
Sure.
talking
No,
3
these-
big dry wells.
These
Lot
are the
of water
these are the 8-foot units,
they can hold.
8 feet by 6 feet deep. These
Okay.
are not 6.5 foot by 2 feet deep dry wells. These are the big ones.
I don't know if it's a bit of a stretch to call them, they're technically oversized. I don't know if they're substantially oversized, 200
Right.
square feet on a 5,000 square foot kind of coverage. It's great, I'm grateful for every little bit of additional coverage, for sure.
Let me see if I can see. What was the capacity that was required? The storage volume required,
Yeah.
you were required to have 2.9 dry wells and you put in 3.
Okay.
So,
Right.
so it is
Yeah, it's small, but
oversized, you
it's-
know, they went.
Right.
they
But
went
It is
like-
marginally oversized, marginally.
Right.
But again, we're not allowed to include the exfiltration rate, which is absolutely high in this because we hit sand when I was down there around 10 feet. So
There's
you
no
don't
dry
even
wells
account
there
that.
Prior to this, there's no, what's the existing stormwater management?
There is none.
There's none at all?
None. It all
Okay.
discharges to
It
that
all
corner.
discharges to the ground.
Yep.
Okay.
So now, I mean, simply by the fact that we're sizing this for an overflow, we're really not even taking into account the exfiltration of what I think it was 4 point
Yeah,
something
what,
inches per hour.
does 4.6?
Yeah,
ring a bell?
4.6 inches per hour is,
And 1 is required, is that right?
Yes.
Or is like typical?
1 inch per hour is the minimum according to the
Thank you.
BMPs.
Great, awesome.
So, could you talk about the maintenance that's required on the scour hole?
The maintenance on the scour hole.
Yeah, is there some regularity that they're supposed to maintain that and get access to that back corner?
Well,
Because we were
actually,
talking about the walls before, so this is all.
The maintenance is really on the dry wells themselves. They should be inspected. They have access, they will have access, great lids to them. They should be inspected on a regular basis. If you follow the BMPs, they should be inspected after every storm that's over 2 inches, if I'm not mistaken. You should take a peek in there and make sure that they're draining. They are supposed to drain in 72 hours, which is what the infiltration calculations here. We actually show these draining in 17 hours. That would be normal for the soils we encountered. 72 is the maximum that they're allowed to hold water. So they should be inspected after every 2-inch storm. And that's the heavy maintenance on these. And if they stop infiltrating water, then we got to do something about them. We've got to pull them out. We've got to find out why and probably replace them or move them to a different location if there's some kind of problem with the subsoils.
We
Keep
would
going.
agree to
Okay.
review it once a year is, I think, reasonable. We could put it as a condition of approval. I had spoken to Brad about this before. Annual review.
One kind of catch-all that we could condition the application on is submission of a stormwater management plan, which would outline not only the improvements that are being made, and for sure this is an improvement, the fact that you're having stormwater management, but then also any of these kind of maintenance criteria, so there's an expectation of whatever is appropriate for this particular system.
We could offer to prepare a stormwater O&M manual for this.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you, that'd be wonderful.
Now, I don't know if this is a question for you or for the landscape architect, maybe the two of you together, but could you talk about how high the walls are? I think there was a question about that they can't be higher than 4, or if they're higher than 4 feet, then they need some engineering and some inspection. And that 4 feet is measured actually from the footing up to the top. And I think on here, it sounds to me like on your grading plan, it's actually 4 feet from the top of grade to the top of wall.
Again, that's a bit of a difference of opinion when you talk to engineers and when you look at the code. If you have a wall that's built where you fill one side up to 3 feet and you fill the other side up to 3 feet, and you have 2 feet of reveal on either side, how high is that wall from a structural standpoint?
Well, and I I'm not disputing that, I just am noticing that there was a note from the construction official about the height of the wall, and I wanted to just make sure that that
Yeah,
was.
it's
The
less than
heights of the
4
walls
feet
are
everywhere,
less than
right?
4 feet, and if the construction official, I disagree with that, we will redesign the walls to comply with his wishes.
I think we may have hit everything I had. I think that was it.
Okay. And then same, we would just ask to condition the application on acceptance of the engineer's letter, which would kind of capture all those, just that discussion we just had.
Yes.
Any other questions from members of the board for the engineer? No?
Well,
Oh, yeah.
I can appreciate given the front lawn, there's not a lot, you're not doing stormwater management, but do know there's a lot of water on Blackburn Road during a heavy storm, and a couple of years ago at least, there was a heavy storm followed by a fast freeze, and all of Blackburn Road was a skating rink. I don't know if you can't put dry wells there. Is there something that can be done? And I guess I also worry with the wall being built in the front. If there is no stormwater management, do you risk compromising what's beneath the surface with the wall?
I will actually mention the fact that with the current proposed plan, in the existing conditions, remember, half the house and all of the driveway went to the road. In the proposed condition, we're capturing all of the house and sending it to that dry well system. So we are actually having less water going to the road as well. So we've mitigated that
Good.
in that particular
And
case.
flattening it out will also
Yeah,
reduce
oh,
the amount
and we're
of water
flattening
going
out
to
the area
road,
down by the
right?
well.
That's
And-
part of.
Go ahead.
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah, and Claire, if you, when you look at 64 Blackburn to the right, that property slopes off.
Right,
And
right.
I know that icing you're talking about exists there. And if you go down to the left where the Niceleys are, right, they have that, it's like right next to the sidewalk is that flat grass for a period of time. I mean, I'm not an engineer, but I gotta believe that helps that mitigate any of those issues.
Any concern about, sorry, the degradation of the footings of the wall? I like that question, whether there's any merit to it or not.
To the degradation of the footings to the wall
Footings on the wall,
front wall.
integrity
by
of the
having
wall,
water behind it?
Yeah.
by
Well,
having water
usually we
flow
put an
behind
under
it.
drain behind it that
You
runs
are
to
gonna have
daylight
a
or
drain there,
scuppers,
right?
or we usually
So
have.
there
To
is,
redirect that.
Oh, yeah, we have to release the hydraulic pressure behind that wall. You have to do that.
Yeah.
You have to install those.
Great. Okay. Would you like to ask a question? Yep. And anyone else here for this application, but I think you're the lucky one. Just again, your name and address for the record.
Serena Healy, 60 Blackburn Road. Regarding the dry well overflow in the back corner, so you have a 4-by-4-foot scour, I guess, from the plans. It's placed directly on the property line, and I understand that you're telling me that you're mitigating what's going on there, but what has previously been the backyard was complete trees with nature just absorbing it. And now there's 5,200 square feet of impermeable surface that you're draining into these dry wells. So when you get overflow, it's going to go into the scour, right?
That is correct.
From the scour, it's going to theoretically spread out a foot below the surface, right? Your scour's a foot deep?
It is a foot deep, yes.
Okay, so it's going to go out from there. My question is, so you get a heavy rain, you get the overflow, and I end up with a marshy back corner.
You're
The
this
water-
lot right
the
here?
water, the
Let's
back
let him
left
ask,
corner.
let's let him answer the question though.
Okay.
One sec
Okay.
here.
You're this lot right here?
Yes.
The water's going down to this lot. It's not going to your lot.
No, it is going to my lot. My lot is lower than that back corner, in that area. And my fence post, that, we put a 6-foot fence in because we backed to Oak Knoll Gym, so we had replaced the split rail, is right at that corner. So anything that comes up, that fence post and my pachysandra and my plants
there.
So maybe a little more about the direction of the water or the infiltration of the ground.
You can see your line.
Sorry, we just need to,
go diagonally.
let's let him answer the question though real quick. and then
You're right.
swear in.
These lines go diagonally, and the discharge of this is at the elevation of the iron pipe at the back corner. That's where the scour hole is set. They're going to have to cut that in so that it's the elevation of the iron pipe. What that scour hole does is it's not designed to infiltrate anything. What it is, it's designed to absorb the energy of whatever water that comes out of there. So the water comes out of that pipe, it will go into that, basically it's a small riprap lined bowl, and it will do basically a little couple of curlicues and some Gaussian structures as a flow, and that dissipates the energy, and that's what the rocks are there for. And then as that fills up, then it'll sheet flow off the back. So it really will discharge to the pipe. Now, you're saying your property is lower than that property corner?
So Serena, sorry, we're going to pause you for a second. Do you mind swearing Serena in just so you can speak freely? That's okay.
Would you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
And please state your name, spell your last name.
Serena Healy, capital Healy.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you.
My question is, when the water comes out, it's going to soak around where your scour is,
Yes.
right? So if the scour is here,
Mhm.
and my property and pole, my fence post is there, you're saying, no, it's only going to go down to the Oak Knoll property. I'm saying it's going to dissipate out and create a marshy situation.
And I don't disagree with that, but I am going to tell you that it's going to be a lot less water than what's down there before.
There was no water down there before.
Then you will have no water down there.
There wasn't 5,200 square feet of impermeable roof line and everything that's in your reports. It was a
But there was a
forest.
house and a garage, and
tiny.
So maybe you could give us a sense of, you follow though, the full kind of lot coverage of the construction is captured by the stormwater management system, the dry wells. So we're talking about overflow. So can you maybe from or Marie, and you can jump in here too, how often should we expect to see overflow? Let's start there.
anytime there's more than 3 inches of rain
So how
in a
frequently
storm.
is that if you were to plot that statistically, right?
Well, if you look at the 2-year storm in this area, it's 2.7 inches of rain. So it's anything over a 2-year storm.
I'm sorry,
How often though in a 12-month period should we expect that?
50% chance in any year.
50% chance, so that means every
But-
day for 6 months, or what does
No,
that
no, no.
mean in
It
terms of
means a
frequency?
50% chance of happening anyway. Once every 2 years is the way it is. However, I have to put the caveat on there because you and I all know
Of course.
that the 100-year storm, which is 8.7 inches in this area, has been exceeded due to climate change. There have been many times in the last 5 years that we've had the 100-year storm that should only happen 1% chance in any year.
Did you look at any other ways to discharge the overflow?
We have, and if the engineer would prefer, we could put an inlet on the top. We could turn these grates, we could turn these lids to grates and have it fill up, and then it would sheet flow on top of the wall. And then you'd end up with a sheet flow over the wall in any storm over 3 inches. If the engineer and the neighbor would prefer that, we can certainly design it so that it overflows out the top of the dry well rather than having a point discharge at the property corner.
I think it might be better to not direct the overflow onto the neighbor's property, and I'm thinking if you can find a solution that is not directed towards a neighbor, I think that is more ideal.
We will change the dry well lids on these to open grates, and they will become the dry well, the dry well overflow.
Joe had a quick question here.
No, it's not quick. I'm the amateur at this, and I do not understand why we have overflow to begin with. If indeed this water belongs to him, we should be retaining it, we should be getting rid of it, we should be somehow not allowing it onto anybody else's property. Why do we have overflow?
Because rains happen more than the volume of the dry well.
No, but then we have to do whatever we have to do to make sure that whatever comes down doesn't affect anybody other than them.
So
There should be no overflow.
Joe, if I can jump in, they're obligated to make sure that the stormwater flow on the property does not exceed, the post-development flow does not exceed the pre-development flow. It doesn't necessarily mean that all uphill properties will never flow down to surrounding properties. And it sounds like the applicants are meeting that legal standard. Now, they can always propose to
Right.
do more, which would be an added benefit to the application, but we can't compel them to absolutely eliminate all flow from the
But
property.
if it's their water, we should be able to prevent that water from going anywhere other than them.
No.
I don't think we
Yeah,
ever,
unfortunately,
ever-
we can't
Never
deal
done
with,
that.
yeah, no one can deal with all of their water, but here we're making a
Told you I'm an
substantial
amateur at this
improvement,
and I
is that
don't
right,
think-
Ryan?
Told you I'm an amateur at this, and I don't believe it. As far as I'm concerned, if it's your water, get rid of it.
But I think maybe, Sam,
That's
what,
it. I'm done.
understand, thank you, John. I think what the board is trying to express,
Where the road goes.
well, for at least one vote, I think what the board is trying to express is we would look favorably upon greater retention of stormwater on the applicant property, understanding that when Noah's Ark arrives, you're not gonna be able to capture everything there in that one lot. But the more you can do by truly oversizing the stormwater management retention systems, the open grates is an interesting idea. I don't know what the practical effect is that, very frankly, but I'd imagine
Yeah.
cooler engineering heads could prevail here.
Well,
Come
we've-
up with something that isn't directing overflow in its unlikely situation into a single neighboring property. That's I think where the board is at right now. Some
Okay, can we
on
have,
one end of the spectrum, some on the others perhaps.
could we have a few minutes to
Yeah,
speak?
absolutely. Let's take a
Thank
5-minute
you.
recess, let you guys talk for a bit, and
Thank
then we'll
you.
come back. Yep.
Sorry.
No,
Said I'm the amateur.
no, it's fair.
I don't get this.
Yeah.
I don't understand drainage. I always said that right from the beginning.
Yes. So, yeah.
I figured every other case we make you prove you're their own water. This one we're saying you exceeded.
It's there. No, not everything. We never required them. Required, they eliminate all flow.
Okay.
So it's an added benefit, but we can't compel them to.
Can't recall a case where they haven't taken care of the water.
Put them in the baby camp. He was Colombian too. I think he made a comment. Resolution here for the benefit of attempt to like diminish the likelihood of healing or something to that effect. He was in the grumpy about this, the legal technicalities of this kind of stuff. But look, especially with the incorporation of stormwater management plan and always the opportunity to appeal things, things are as terrible as the nightmare scenario people are painting. Yeah, no, that's right. I don't know. That's why we have many members voting, right? Ollie, how was Disney World? That's when you and I last talked.
It was incredible.
Incredibly exhausting, incredibly, what?
It was, so,
My daughter's making a hard pitch for Disney World, and I'm resisting with every ounce of my being.
okay, I'm gonna tell you, we thought it was gonna be too much and like a little lame, but it was gonna be fun for the kids.
Sure.
And then we went,
Mhm.
and now we're talking about whether we're gonna become like a Disney
More.
family.
Oh my
because
God.
It was awesome. It's like, I don't know, I feel like it was like revamped and.
Do you guys stay on the in the park, or would you stay?
It looks like the grass is holding its I didn't have Scott and I were there like the same year.
Oh, really?
Which is crazy, we were talking, I was like, oh, we were there, like, they were at the Polynesian, we were staying at the Polynesian, we were for dinner one night, and like, they were awesome.
Here.
So, no, it was so much fun.
You brought this wall to the top,
They don't do
and then you have a wide area to plant more substantial, whatever arborvitae's or something. 5 or 6 feet. I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud.
And it was like the Guardians of the Galaxy, like the roller coaster.
I guess there is a plan.
It was an amazing playlist.
It was a real road.
Well, I turned that off. It's up to you since we have a break, and then I'll turn it back on.
Good, all right. Glad it was a good experience.
So you're gonna go the next year?
I mean, my out is that my mother really wants to take my daughters, which is great for all parties involved. My daughters get Disney World, it's on her dime, I don't have any aggravation, I get some time away from the kids. I think that's the solution.
Oh, so she's gonna go with kids alone?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Like, you gotta hear that.
How'd you pull that?
That's wild.
I had to go with everybody.
I know, I was gonna say, I went with my in-laws too, and it was great.
No, my mother's like, oh, it's magical.
There's no early discounts.
Did you do Tron?
Was that?
Did you do Tron?
No. My kids aren't quite old.
It was fun.
I got that. I think sometimes on the one side. Racetrack?
It's a very heavy.
Steve, you have girls? You have girls?
Yes, 4 and 7, yes. Little young whippersnappers here.
Is your oldest first or second?
Second, yeah, see Lincoln Hubbard at second grade.
I thought I saw you from a distance on Halloween.
Yeah.
My oldest is the first thing.
There you go. Yeah, no, we were there. We live also like right across the street from Lincoln, from where the parking lot is, the teacher parking lot. We live in the White House, like right across the street there.
Is
So-
that Woodland?
Woodland, on Woodland. Yeah, exactly. So you won't see me around the school grounds very much because I can literally sit on my front porch and watch her walk to the door. So it's awesome.
And she's second grade, so she can ride her bike next year?
She could ride. We rode the bike. The problem is we're like downhill, and riding up a hill was not really interesting to her, right?
It's good muscle. It's good muscle strength.
That's right. I'm just glad she walks. So.
Yeah, we ride the bike, and then I have to carry both bikes like that back.
That's right. Entirely predictable. All right, let's let Mr. Steiner rejoin the dais, and we'll kick off.
I think we need 1 or 2 more minutes.
want a
We're
couple
doing
minutes?
some calculations
Sure.
to confirm.
Sure.
I'll walk back, I promise.
What's going on here?
Joe, you'll be happy. They've agreed to take all the water from Summit.
And you have to take all of
Yeah.
it. Just 99.
99, that's right.
I just wanted to take the risk. But when I'm told I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I get it. Lawyers. He said that right up front. I know this. I did not study this stuff. You guys did. I can guarantee you.
That's why it's part of the council. So it's really up for debate. Part of the council.
Okay.
All right.
Are we back?
We're back. The gavel has spoken. All right, Sam, give us some good news.
Thank you. Yes, we had a chance to look at it, and I'm going to give it to Ryan, who was calculating over there how much more water we're going to handle with the changes that we're proposing to the dry well system.
Okay. If you'll recall, the dry well systems, if you look at sheet 4 of 4, the overflows are designed to come out 6 inches before the top of the lid. And so anything that reaches that level, the dry well never actually fills up to the top. When you remove that overflow, you get another 6 inches of capacity in that dry well, times the 3 dry wells. I did the calculations real quick. That's another 50 cubic feet for all 3 dry wells. So what, if we back engineer the calculations here, the same dry well volumes calculated all the way to the top and overflowing out the grate actually accommodates 6,612 square feet of impervious coverage versus the net increase of 53. I don't want to misspeak on this one. $53.16. So we're over detaining by 1,300 square feet
And
of
removing
impervious coverage.
the overflow discharge to the corner of the property.
That is correct.
Wow, okay.
In addition to that, our
You can smile if you want,
landscape
it's all right.
architect actually pointed out, when we calculate that net increase, we're also calculating the pool. And the pool actually holds about 6 inches of water before it overflows anyway.
For anyone
So-
that's been carefully reading your annual reports, that's been a topic of discussion from the zoning board for a couple of years now, so.
And that'll help
So-
you the 3 months a year that it's open.
That is correct.
We'll take it.
Hence the reason why that's still under debate.
That's right.
That's right. That's true. There you
So,
Okay.
we offer that as increased, just simply by moving the dry well overflow, we have increased our capacity by 1,300 square feet.
Excellent. That's great. Okay, I would consider that over-engineering the stormwater management system. Maria, is there any concern or question you would like to offer at this point? We're still going to condition the application on submission of the stormwater management plan, so you can go and check the math and everything.
Right.
But anything you'd want
So just to clarify, you're not collecting any more water, you're just accounting for a bigger storm that might be happening with more frequency.
That is correct.
to? Okay. Serena, did you have any questions? You conceptually kind of follow what was discussed there? Yeah, okay. And then our board engineer is going to review again this plan. They'll rerun the numbers formally off of the board and make sure it's all, and maintenance as well is accommodated for. So we're
We need
feeling
a
better
grading
about this?
permit as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Serena. Cool. Thank you very much for the
Thank
extra
you.
time. Anybody, no other witnesses, I presume?
We do not.
Okay.
That's our presentation,
Okay,
unless the board
anything
has
you'd
any
like-
further questions.
Questions from the board?
Yes.
Mr. Malay.
I'm still not that comfortable with the overflow. Where would it flow to?
Okay. So maybe talk a little bit about, right, now we're changing the overflow condition, right, where it's going to essentially essentially
Where
sheet
is the
flow.
So in the event of overflow,
In the event,
right,
which might happen, 100 years.
it'll
or
go over the
whatever,
wall, right?
Which direction it will go? Because we see that the land is sloped into that corner where we are installing this wall, and then we will have accumulation of water behind these 2 4-feet walls. And they will be, there will be water accumulation in this corner, wouldn't be?
Actually, the tops of these walls are level across here, is that correct? Yes, 96. So essentially what would happen is the water would come out of all 3 grates. Instead of out of a 6-inch pipe down at the corner here, the water would fill up in the dry wells and sheet flow off the side. And so these 3 discharge points would be the width of the grates, which is about 2 feet. So you'd have 3 sheet flows of 2-foot wide water coming to the top of this wall, where it would hit the back of the wall, and then it would distribute along the entire length of the wall before it would spill over.
And there will be drains behind all of those
And there are
walls, right?
drains behind those walls.
On the neighbor's property. On which neighbor's property? The one to the east?
Well, it would be the one to the southeast here, Lot 4.
And that would be sheet flow.
It would be sheet flow over the first wall and then sheet flow over the second wall. But again, the quantities of water we're talking about here are much less than what flows back here now.
I'm just concerned about emergency situation where we have a 100 years or more rainfall.
It still wouldn't get to over the second wall, right?
So, I mean, we know that this capacity might be reached, and the dry well will be full at that stage. And where are we gonna go with the overflow?
Where the water goes now, which is less than what goes now. That's,
No, we don't have these the walls. We don't have the walls, do we?
no, you're right. You have a steep slope that basically shoots the water down onto the neighbor.
But now we are accumulating water behind them and letting them go after in that scenario where we have a lot of water flowing at a very rapid rate.
The idea
not
of the plan is to not allow that to happen, right? This is to delay
This is
and
to
allow
delay.
for appropriate drainage on the property.
The
So
wall
that
will-
nothing is
the-
shooting anywhere.
Yeah,
I think
the
it's
wall
very
will
clear from
act
the
as a-
testimony that they're actually improving the situation. Yeah, in a
Yes.
disastrous storm, there could be overflow, but they're actually improving the situation with what exists now.
Not exactly, when we're removing some trees and putting walls in instead. Now, my concern is these walls around that corner, and they'll work as a water retainage,
No, because it's
retaining
going over the
system.
top of the walls.
Right, but that
And
is
it's a-
4 feet. I mean, we are gonna wait till that level of water reaches the top of the.
We've created
I
a
don't
level
think so.
spreader.
But there will be some accumulation behind the walls.
And
Right.
isn't that a good thing?
No,
It's holding the water from going anywhere else.
no, because that would be only affecting the neighbors on the other side, because they'll flow on the other side.
So I think this sounds like something for Marie to pay particular attention to in her scrutiny of the stormwater management plan is, we may have, it's possible, right, in an extraordinary stormwater event caused a different problem, right, in terms of the sheet flow and then flowing of the water out into neighboring properties. So we would just ask you to be sensitive to that. That is in fact in only a very exceptional case where 3 of these now full capacity tanks fill, and there's additional groundwater absorption, and then the sheet flow over, that it's not causing problems. I mean,
But correct me if I'm wrong, and answer my question. Isn't what the applicant's proposing to do, making it less often or less likely for water to go into the neighboring properties?
I believe that is true.
Okay, thank you.
And if we're talking about, you know, the 100-year storm where all of these things are totally full, I mean, at this point, the whole neighborhood is, water's rising. I mean,
We're in
there's
a
water
raft.
everywhere at this point.
And also, the retaining walls are not gonna have a negative impact on the neighbors in terms of the flow of the water to their property.
No. Stabilizing and lessening the slope will actually spread it. Basically, what we're describing here is what's called a level spreader. When you have basically a berm or a dam where the water hits it, runs along it, and then runs over. So you have a thin sheet flow as opposed to a pipe or a culvert where you're channeling and directing a water gun.
Right.
So it's called a level spreader is what we use when we do it for soil erosion. We do those in temporary berms. You'll see them sometimes on very steep driveways when they're under construction. They look like speed bumps. Those are not speed bumps. Those are level spreaders to make sure that the water doesn't go shooting down that driveway that's under
Reduce
construction.
the chance of pooling and collecting. in a single
Exactly.
Okay, great.
And the dry wells are gonna be, because the dry wells are designed to be behind the walls, right?
That is correct.
Right
They're actually deeper than the
Within
walls.
property.
And that's the purpose why you located your dry wells at this location.
Yes.
Because you're gonna collect the water here, and it will flow slowly into the dry wells. But the dry wells, we all know, they have a reduced efficiency with time. And regardless of the maintenance we can maintain, these dry wells, they do lose some kind of efficiency. That's why I'm trying to see what is the other alternative to get rid of the water without changing the normal flow on the over the steep slope to a sheet flow over a something that looks like a weir.
That is what we've
Right.
migrated to here.
Right. So I think the board, I mean, has heard, right, that the increased capacity of the tanks is positive. The removal of the directed overflow away from a single neighboring property is positive. There's for sure some potential negative impact in an extraordinary circumstance where water is sheet flowing at low energy over the walls towards the back of the property. But given the available options, that's the least negative, most positive. Depends on if you're a half glass full, half glass empty kind of guy. but that's,
Are we going
that's,
to
I think,
retain jurisdiction?
And as part of the stormwater management plan, we would retain jurisdiction for a 2-year time period. Would allow us or neighboring properties to closely scrutinize the practical impact of this plan, and if there was concern, to come back here to seek some redress. Okay, we'll have deliberations shortly. Thank you. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sam, nothing for closing?
Thank you.
Is there anything, sorry, you wanted to say in closing?
No,
Okay. You're okay then? We're gonna proceed to our deliberations then.
can I just make?
Yep, yep, if you want to make a comment, yep.
So I'm just gonna, so with the removal of over 40 trees and plantings from the property, we have concerns about privacy. The pool is 8 feet above our backyard and their patios, and we think will result in a lot of noise and light. I mean, if you have a pool, you're gonna use it, right? And you're gonna have it lit at night, and you're gonna use your barbecue and whatnot. So there is from what I understand, the 2 walls will be 6 feet, right?
Okay.
And then there'll be a fence that is 6 feet, is that correct? And so when we're asking for plantings along the side, I don't know how anything will ever get light to grow. So what we thought might help to address our concerns about aesthetics, privacy, light, noise, whatever, is to move the wall in 8 or 10 feet from allow the plantings, and also allow more time for anything that comes over those walls to be absorbed into their property.
Okay.
And I don't think it affects the pool or anything, because it is that lower back corner.
Okay. So
So that's
maybe,
my-
Sam, you just want to take an opportunity just to clarify the wall heights, just real quick, so the board's clear. And then if there's any further comments you'd like to entertain.
Okay, the wall that runs along, the first wall, the lowest wall, is, it looks like it's 3.5 feet high. No, I'm sorry, 3 feet high here. 2.5 feet high. It looks like the lower wall is about 2.5 feet high. The higher wall is 3.5 here. It looks like here in the middle of the back, the lower wall does actually get up to 4 feet high. So at the points where it's along your property, it looks like the lower wall is 3 feet high and the upper wall is 2.5 feet high. And then it tapers to 0. So those are the heights. I mean, basically.
So it's 6 feet at the back, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Tapering down, and that's what I'm asking for.
Sorry, if you want to comment, I just need you to come forward.
It's 6 feet at the back where there are no plantings.
And then, sorry, just to clarify again, there's a few feet, I think we heard from the landscape architect, a few feet between the 2 walls.
There's 7 feet between the 2 walls.
7, well, is that the case?
Between the fence and the first wall.
From between the fence and the first wall is 3 feet.
And
And then it's another 7 feet to the second wall.
To allow for plantings there.
Yeah.
But then you only
Push a
have this
better
much
buffer.
to plant in.
Well, that's not 7 feet.
But that's the ground level, unless you're gonna plant big things in
Right.
3 feet here.
the wall. But you wouldn't plant a 20-foot.
If we look back at the landscape plan, we are putting.
But these are small
plantings,
shrubberies, these are shrubs.
Right,
So
and that's
if
part
it's
of what we're
here
gonna talk to
already-
John Linson about and you.
But these go to 25 feet, these green giant arborvitae, I
Mhm.
believe. And then these go to, they're planted at 3 feet over. So that, just, there's
Right,
no
so,
screening.
so let's have the landscape architect kind of restate the modifications to the landscaping plan that he had envisioned to address the privacy concerns. So I remember
Correct.
some Latin names of things that I can't remember.
Yeah, I'll just
Go
do
ahead.
high level, and then I'll submit the landscape plan for the city forester and I
Great.
to.
Let's just make
finalize.
sure Serena's
But
questions are answered.
We'll get to you. So we have upright evergreens. They're labeled as green giants on the plan along the property line, and they're stopping roughly where the lower wall starts. At that point, we only have about 3 feet between the lower wall and the fence, so there's not enough space to put those upright evergreens between. We do have, though, as the engineer spoke to, 7 feet between the lower wall and the upper wall. That is enough space to plant continue those upright evergreens in that area where shrubs are indicated on the plan currently, not labeled, but indicated on the plan. So we are okay with planting the upright evergreens between the 2 walls, which would provide you with the privacy that you desire and my client also desires.
I desire this privacy as well.
Okay.
I'm gonna be in that pool, so I would like privacy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, you're okay, Brad, with a condition of approval that allows the neighbor to be involved in discussions and the approval of John Linson of the final landscape plan?
Involved? Yes.
Yeah, I don't know,
Happy
it's,
to take
I don't know if
that.
it's necessarily a condition, it's our expectation that as
Yeah.
good neighbors, you're gonna invite her
We did it
to
with
participate.
we did it with our rear
Right.
yard neighbor already.
Perfect.
So we're happy to do it with Serena as well and take input. But believe me,
That's right.
I really want screening. And if you look at the property that we did on Cole,
Mhm.
we had a lot of screening.
Right.
And it was nestled really in a tight spot. And we felt secluded in our little backyard.
Sure, okay.
And Mark, how tall are these going in, these evergreens?
We haven't gotten to the final, plantings are gonna happen spring of '24. We're done with planting this season.
I suspect you'd order them in the winter, though. What would you be ordering to put, plant in the ground?
What
I
do
mean,
they
okay,
typically,
so
6 to 8?
between the 2 walls, we're already, as the engineer testified, 3 feet up.
Mhm.
So if we put a 7-foot tree or an 8-foot tree there, it's gonna be relatively 10 feet off the ground. I would say that's our minimum-ish size. We don't wanna put a 10-foot tree because the ball's gonna be too big to fit between the 2 walls. So it's gonna be 7 to 8 or 8 to 10 in that range. But to be determined, we have to finalize that.
Of course. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, Serena? All right. All right, then. With that, thank you very much. Maybe, Andy, if you could just read us back the conditions, and we can go into our deliberations.
Certainly. So I have 4 of them. First is our usual compliance with the conditions noted in the board engineer's memorandum. Second is that the applicant shall submit the revised landscaping plan, which shall include additional screening in the back left corner of the property to the city forester for review and approval. Third, the applicant shall submit a stormwater management plan to the board engineer for review and approval. And fourth and final condition is that the board shall retain drainage jurisdiction for a period of 2 years after the completion of construction.
So one question on the first condition, I think you said shall include additional landscaping in the back left corner. I'm worried about that language just because we just heard from them that they don't think they can put anything significant between the wall and the lot line, but we want to replace what is shown as shrubs with evergreens between the 2 walls. So can we change that language to shall include replacement of the proposed shrubs with buffer landscaping or something like that?
That's generally acceptable. I mean, I would just encourage you, and Mr. Olson, I think you heard clearly tonight, is you've stated it yourself. Privacy is the utmost importance here in the community. So maybe with a good night's sleep and a strong cup of coffee, you're gonna look at the entire plan and make sure that even for neighbors that weren't able to join us this evening, if there's opportunity to add additional privacy screening, that may be something that you invest in, so.
Oh, then there's probably no question about that over time.
Great. Okay, and we'll make sure the language is
Thank you.
not unnecessarily restrictive. but
Just want to make sure it's clear for John when he has to review it, right?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And you'll have the testimony as well from this evening. so-
Yes, of course.
Right, which was extensive. Any other questions on the conditions?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I just ask a clarifying
Sure.
question? So there's not going to be any plantings between the bottom wall and that fence, that little 2 to 3 foot area?
I think there may be, right? But we're not, I'm afraid of saying there definitely will be because the engineer said he doesn't think we'll be able to squeeze anything in there.
I just worry about maintenance on that small area.
Yeah.
I don't even, I mean, the plantings show that there's green giant arborvitaes along the side. I don't even know how somebody would get down there, even if there was like some grasses,
Right.
which nobody's gonna see now
That's
because there's gonna be a
why-
fence and there's gonna be these other green giant arborvitaes that are on now the first tier.
Mhm.
I'm just,
Right. Okay, that's a good call, and I think maybe.
The
with
only
condition-
specific we're noting is the replacement of the shrubs with the evergreens, and then the remainder of the landscaping plan will be subject to the city forester's review.
and I think the body of the resolution, not to write it for you, Andy, here, would emphasize privacy and maintenance as a good additional call out here, given kind of the unique location of some of these plantings and wanting to respect the property of neighbors as well.
And we've worked with John along, and he's been very helpful.
Good.
Mark has a dialogue with him frequently.
Excellent. Okay, awesome. All right, who would like to begin the deliberations? I'm in.
The only concern I had is that corner, but as long as they are gonna comply with the requirement of the stipulated in the engineer's letter, and stormwater management is gonna be subject to their approval, I am fine with that.
Okay, excellent. This side of the dais, Jay, you look relaxed over there. What's on your mind?
Some is an interesting thing with topography changes throughout the entire area. I think the approach, the practicality of the front and addressing your family needs and being able to make that more functional for your family as well as future families, addressing the concern with your neighbor, understanding that privacy is important. I think this has been a nice collaborative approach, but what we'd like to see happen with trying to figure out solutions. So in that response, I'm in favor of this.
Okay. Anyone care to expand, elaborate? Tom, anything?
Yeah, I'll say a little bit more. I think it's unfortunate that 40 trees had to be sacrificed for this project, but I appreciate the applicant's effort to address that with some very attractive landscaping and trying to use native plants. Happy to hear that, and address the forester's comments. And also the changes tonight to protect privacy going both ways, I think are very positive. Stormwater management, I think efforts they're going beyond what's required. As I said earlier, it sounds like, and based on our engineer's agreement, it sounds like it's going to make it better than what exists now, which is actually more than that can be required to do. And we're retaining jurisdiction for 2 years, so that's good. So if I were voting, I would vote in favor.
Okay. Anyone else care to add anything? I would just kind of in summation say that I think the robust dialogue we've had here today is really going to benefit from offering the board's perspective, the neighbor's perspective. Thank you for making time to join with us tonight. And even here in the chambers, but beyond it, with Marie and with John, some continued scrutiny by our board professionals. So I'm hopeful, I'm grateful for your substantial investment, thank you. But I'm grateful that a great project is going to mature here, is going to ultimately benefit the neighbors and provide for really a public benefit for what is otherwise a difficult lot to build and improve upon. So for the reasons that Tom especially did a good job stating, I could support the application. With that, I would ask for a motion with the conditions as noted.
So moved.
Second. Stephanie?
Vice Chairman Steiner?
You want to ask for name?
Sure. Okay. Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yes.
Mr. Loiketz?
Yes.
Ms. Toth?
Yes.
Ms. Sager?
Yes.
Chairman Spur?
Yes.
You're up.
I think I have to be up, but I think my friends here on this board have convinced me, so the answer is yes.
Okay.
Good job. Thank you, Sam. Thank you,
Thank
Solson.
you.
Thank you, Serena.
Have a good night.
All right. The ever patient Hillary Olds. Thank you. Stephanie.
Yes, please.
Jump up and bitch.
Just watching to see if Steve is going to stick with it.
Want to let them set up all their equipment over here?
Sure.
All right.
Are the screens working or no? Okay.
So,
Well, we're gonna do our best to try and move this along, so we'll see. I
Yeah.
don't know what time you guys go till.
I think fairly, because we've got a couple of administrative things I need half a wake board members for by an hour, maybe. I'll try to give you an hour if we can, but we'll see where the logical place is to break if we need to. So, All right, I think we're settling into place here. Hillary, if you'd like to start us off.
Sure, okay. My name is Hillary Alls from Dempsey and Sheehan, representing the applicant Thomas John Holdings LLC regarding property located at 502 Morris Avenue and 5 Lowell Avenue, block 502, lots 3 and 4, located in the B zone and the R6 zone. So this application involves a unique site. Subject site consists of 2 lots, which have been used in connection with each other as a commercial site since the early 1950s. Lot 3 was the location of City Auto Top since the late 1940s. Lot 4 has never had a single-family residence on it, but rather just a garage that was built with the city's permission in 1966, as referenced in the zoning officer's report. This garage is in a state of deferred maintenance, which will be significantly improved as part of this proposal. The current garage is categorized under the ordinance and interpretations of the city's professionals to be a principal structure. However, once the 2 lots are consolidated, as was requested by the zoning officer as part of this application, which will legally confirm the long-standing relationship between the 2 properties, the garage will be recategorized as an accessory structure to the principal use on Lot 3. This change in classification triggers certain technical variances. The garage will remain mostly unchanged, except to make necessary repairs and to construct a small dormer that will match the existing dormer, which will provide symmetry, improve the aesthetics, and provide needed storage so that equipment and other items can be stored inside in an enclosed area rather than be visible outside around the property. The technical variances resulting in the change in classification and the small dormer addition result in the request for variance relief for an expansion of a pre-existing non-conforming use and the maximum permitted accessory structure height, dimension, footprint, and floor area. The applicant is also seeking permission to improve the property by the addition of a thoughtful and well-designed parking layout that will eliminate the haphazard parking conditions currently existing on site and will provide a compliant number of off-street parking spaces and a handicap accessible space, as well as eliminate extra curb cuts and reduce driveway widths, all of which will promote public safety and improve traffic circulation on and off-site. What seems like a common sense and straightforward plan to improve the parking and ingress and egress to this commercial site is complicated by the fact that the 2 properties, although used together in connection with the commercial use, are in 2 different zoning districts. Because Lot 4 is in the R6 zone and parking alone is not permitted, a permitted use, it triggers certain variances. Which are a use variance to permit parking in the R6 zone. Technically, a lot coverage variance because the amount of lot coverage in the R6 zone will exceed the permitted lot coverage by 13.2%, even though once the lots are merged, the total lot coverage will be 35.3%, which is under what is permitted. And for the location of the portion of the trash enclosure in the R6 zone. The other variances requested by this proposal are for the size and type of sign proposed, which is similar to the type and size of the existing sign. The size of the landscape buffer area of 20 feet where 30 feet is required. For exceeding on the maximum foot candle of the property line, which is limited to areas farthest away from the residential neighbors, for no loading zone, and to permit more than 1 commercial vehicle to park outdoors overnight which will be provided in a tandem parking layout, and which has been a long-standing practice at this site as noted in the zoning officer's comments, as well as for preliminary and final major site plan approval. The result of this proposal will have a significant positive benefit on the surrounding area, including a notable aesthetic improvement over existing conditions, improved stormwater management, and improved ingress and egress, traffic circulation on and off site, and an organized off-street parking plan with a compliant number of spaces, all of which will promote public safety. The testimony you will hear tonight will provide the proofs necessary and demonstrate the legal criteria required to grant the requested variances. The presentation will begin with Thomas Pamplone, the representative for the applicant, Bill Hollows, the civil engineer, Michael McNerney, the architect, John Olivo, the landscape architect, and Michael Tobia, who will provide the planning testimony.
Wow. It's an extensive memo by Krista I was just noting there as well, so excellent.
All right, so the, I don't know if the board has any questions, or I can call the first.
Any
witness.
questions for Ms. Olds? No? And then just for my reference, I suspect these are all friends of the applicant. Are you here, either of you here, as neighbors interested, members of the interested public?
I am, yeah.
Okay, excellent. And you, sir?
I'm observing.
You're observing. All right, we welcome observers. Excellent. So just as you had seen in the prior application, after each of the witnesses, which we'll try to hear a couple this evening, we'll see how that goes. You'll have the opportunity to ask questions, and then at the very end, you'll have the opportunity to ask, to state kind of your opinion, positive or negative, about the application. Okay? All right, Hillary, you may call your first witness.
All right, Thomas Pamplone.
Good evening.
And if you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and spell your last name.
Thomas J. Pampalone, P-A-M-P-A-L-O-N-E.
Thank you.
Can you please tell the board the name of the owner of 502 Morris Avenue and 5 Lowell Avenue, the properties that are the subject of this application?
Thomas John Holdings, LLC.
And what is your relationship to the applicant?
Owner.
And are you authorized to speak on behalf of the applicant?
Yes.
And how long have the properties been under the current ownership?
May 31st, 2023, so I would say roughly 6 months.
And what was your connection to these properties prior to the change in ownership?
I was a tenant on the property for 12 years, and we used the property for our painting business, and that included overnight commercial parking.
And do you have any personal history of it?
Yeah, I graduated Summit High School in 1983, so I'm a hilltopper, and we incorporated our business in 1988, so we've been proudly serving the community for 35 years.
And,
Yep.
great. Can you give the board a brief background and history of the two properties?
The properties were purchased by Joe Barron Sr. in 1947, and he ran and operated what's called City Auto Top. It was City Auto Top until 2018, and they were an upholstery and convertible shop, and it was an old school shop, and he built the first section of the building, or the first floor of the building, in 1947. And then in 1949, he added the second floor, which houses 2 residential apartments. I have a handout if anybody's interested.
It's up to you, Hillary, it's your application.
Sure. So if you can mark these as exhibit A1 and A2, and they're photos of the property.
Yep. Investment, thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see
And
if we
can you
got
just tell the board what these photos are of?
The first one, 1947, was the first, really the ground floor of the shop. And 2 years later, they put the second floor on. And basically, the structure has remained the same since then. And I plan on keeping the integrity of the building the same, not changing, really changing the building. it's going to be improved, which we've done in the last 6 months, a decent amount of improvements.
And can you just explain the relationship of the two properties?
One was a residential lot, and the one in front one is a mixed-use commercial lot.
And have they always been used in connection with each other since?
Yeah, I mean, the back garage was always used for storage.
And what is your occupation and how is the property currently being used?
We're a painting contracting firm, and we've been there for 12 years as a tenant, and it's used primarily for storage and parking. And we set our teams off in the morning from this site, not every morning, but there's quite a bit of, necessity to have a property like this. But daytime traffic is not, it's not a heavy daytime traffic, because all of our work primarily is off-site.
And then can you just tell the board again what is on the second floor of the building?
2 residential apartments, and we're not changing any of the configuration of those apartments.
And you said 2 two-bedroom?
2 2-bedrooms.
And can you tell the board the hours of operation and the number of employees, as well as if the residential apartments are currently occupied?
Typically, I mean, we're an 8 to 5 business. Seasonally, it may change, and the residential apartments, they're, I guess the front apartment, what is the question?
Are they currently occupied?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And the number of employees?
16 employees.
And is the current use and operation the same as the proposed use and operations?
Yes.
And can you tell the board what the objectives were for these properties?
Objective in the sense of?
What were you speaking to you?
Oh, more parking. More parking, improvement of landscaping, for the neighborhood visual, containing what we have site-wise.
Excellent. And in an effort to meet those objectives, can you describe for the board what is proposed by this application briefly, using the site plan that was filed as part of the application as sheet 3 of 8 of the engineer's plan?
Probably defer to the engineer for that.
Well, can you just briefly just tell them what you're proposing?
Proposing 17 parking stalls on the side of the building that abuts Enterprise Rent-A-Car, 6 parking spaces for overnight parking of commercial vehicles, commercially marked vehicles.
And what about for the garage?
The garage is used as storage, back garage.
What are you proposing for the garage?
We would like to put a dormer, so we have 2 dormers with symmetry on the second floor, and that's used, second floor is used for dry storage, and the first floor is used for more of equipment type storage. Currently, we really don't have anything in there. That's, how would I say it? It's a little dangerous now in the sense that it's, the roof's leak. It was neglected for quite some time.
And with regard to the existing building on lot 3, can you tell the board what the building is currently being used for and what the proposed uses are?
The main structure on 502 Morris, that's where we operate our business, that's where we have our office, that's where we have additional storage, and occasionally with inclement weather, we'll park inside, and you have the 2 apartments upstairs. We run our operations out of there.
And then that building has 2 garage doors, one in the
Correct.
front and one in the back, and are you proposing to keep those?
Yes.
And how often are you planning on using the garage door that exits onto Morris Avenue?
Not very often.
And are you proposing that that will be an ingress or an egress only?
I would, exit.
Exit only.
Yep, onto Morris Avenue.
And the proposed, so that's how you're using it, and you're proposing no change to that, right?
Correct.
And with regard to the existing garage on lot 4, can you tell the board what the structure is used for and what is proposed?
It's primarily storage, and it would continue as storage.
With regard to the storage, can you describe what is being stored and how you handle any potentially environmentally hazard liquids like solvents or cleaning agents?
90% of our business is non-solvent compliant really today with EPA and compliant with requirements of architects and engineers as far as projects we do. 10% solvents that we use, 10% of our business is solvents, and we have those in a locked storage, steel marked. I mean, you'd call it a storage container.
And what are some of the other items that you're storing on site?
Drop cloths, scaffolding, ladders, spray equipment, sundries, associated products, joint compound, paintbrushes, anything related to our business.
And can you explain how the trash and recycling will be collected and stored?
Once we have our containment area built, we'll go to an outside service.
So there's-
Residentially, they'll still use the city of Summit.
A new trash and recycling enclosure.
Correct.
And one of the objectives for the application was to be able to park commercial vehicles on site overnight. Can you tell the board how many commercial vehicles are proposed to be parked on site? And can you describe these commercial vehicles?
There will be 6 commercial cargo vans that are lettered and with commercial licensing. And I believe the height is 6'2" or 6'8". I did measure that. And that
6'10".
6'10"
Familiar.
with a rack. We don't have larger size cargo vans. So the idea is to screen all that in, partition it in, and basically hide it from anybody's sightline, including the residential neighborhood.
And with regard to the redesigned parking area and layout, can you just briefly explain where and how the commercial vehicles will be parked?
They will be parked, if you're on Morris Avenue, they'll be parked on the right side of the property of 6 spaces that would abut Enterprise Rent-A-Car. So it's way out of view of any residential or any traffic on Morris Avenue.
And if you're on Lowell Avenue, it'll be behind the building?
Correct.
And how will that parking work? Because I believe they're tandem spaces.
Yeah, they're tandem spaces, so that's a good question. We'll have to work that out.
I would imagine the van goes out, the car goes in,
Yes,
right?
that's the idea. But I will specify what employee uses which van and who has assigned parking spaces, so it's organized.
And can you tell the board how the tenant spaces will be designated?
Tenant spaces, the first 4 spaces off of Lowell will be the tenants 1, 2, 3, and 4.
And will there be a sign or some kind of a marking?
There's going to be a marking.
And can you describe the nature of deliveries to the property?
For our business, we don't really get a lot of deliveries. There's kind of an inefficiency with that. So larger projects, materials are delivered to the site. Majority of the time, guys are picking up at stores. And most of the deliveries are the tenants, whether it's FedEx or Amazon.
So mostly deliveries that are typical of residential deliveries?
Correct. That's correct.
And how will snow removal be handled in the parking area?
When everything's done, I would say an outside, if everything, fully is done, I would say an outside service is probably the best way for us.
And the plans referenced an oil tank to be removed. Can you tell the board if this has been completed?
That has been completed. I do have a no further action letter from, I believe it's October 12th.
From the DEP?
From the DEP.
Excellent. That's it. I have no more questions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your time.
The board might
Wait, 1 second, we might have questions for you, no
Sure.
promises.
Okay.
Are there any questions from the board for the applicant? No? Okay. I don't know.
So we
Oh, so
have
go ahead.
5 variances? How
Uh,
many variances are we?
Great question. Andy, can you help, or Hillary, help
I
parse
see
out?
the maximum lot coverage.
Do you want me to read them again?
Can you count them?
No, just the number.
Just the number.
5?
Well, it depends on how you look at them. So if they're all single variances, you could count the accessory structure variance and you could say the accessory structure needs a height, dimension, footprint, and floor area. So is that 4 variances or 1 variance? So if you do it that way, then it's gonna be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 14.
Thank you. No other questions on the board? Tom, you had something just for the applicant?
We answered most of my operational questions, so I appreciate that. Just a few, just to cross T's, dot I's. So just to be clear, there'll only be a single commercial tenant. You're the only commercial tenant. It won't be we're renting out the garage to
That's
Tom's
correct.
Carpentry, but, okay. And all storage will be conducted indoors. There won't be ladders stored outside, scaffolding stored outside?
No, and the idea for this is scaffolding and ladders are quite expensive these days. So the idea is to keep everything inside to prevent corrosion and rust.
Okay, and then finally, I know with painting, that typically involves some cleaning, usually at the end of the day. Where does that occur?
Off-site,
Okay.
meaning on whatever jobs are
On
on.
the jobs,
Correct.
before they come back.
That's correct.
That's okay.
One question, with regards to one of the variances here, it says, a variance to permit outdoor overnight parking of 6 commercial vehicles. Is any outdoor commercial parking permitted in the business district, in the B district?
Yes, you're
How many?
permitted 1 commercial vehicle.
Thank you.
Okay. You've got a garage as part of the property that would hold at least 2 trucks, tandem parking. Are you proposing to use that as parking, or what?
Well, the back garage, we don't intend to use as parking.
No, I mean, as part of the primary structure on Morris Avenue, there's a, I mean, it was where Joe did
Right.
the stuff in the cars.
Correct. Not all the time, no. Not all the time. Like, if there's inclement weather, we'd like to use that for more storage and operations.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Maureen, Tom, any questions from our interested, member of the interested public?
Actually,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. So by my rough calculations, you probably have about, 12 parking spaces for your 16 employees, net of the 4 spaces for your tenants. Is that gonna be sufficient?
17 proposed parking spaces. One is handicapped. It will be sufficient because not every employee drives. I would
They
think.
carpool or?
Correct. Or drive to the job site.
Can I have a couple questions? Maybe you said this and I was writing notes or something. Where do you park your vehicles now, your commercial vehicles now?
We do the best we can. On the side lot, which is gravel, which if you refer to the photos, was used kind of for parking since 1947.
So, but they are parked there now overnight?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. And the zoning officer makes a comment about EV space situations, and it's kind of a little bit vague. She says the applicant proposes 17 parking spaces with 1 handicap space, no EV spaces are proposed. The applicant should address any statutory EV space requirement. I know we have an ordinance or rule for that.
There's some prevailing state statute, isn't there?
Yes, yeah, we have an ordinance by code, but since that was adopted, the state has adopted a model EV ordinance, which applies to all towns regardless, and.
Based on that, we are not required to provide any electrical vehicle charging station equipment or make-ready spots because we have less than 25 spaces.
That's okay, I wasn't sure what the cutoff is, 25? Okay.
Okay, sorry, any questions from you for the applicant?
Well, yeah, I do have a question about zoning, so this is.
Sure, let's get your question out of the way first. I don't know if you'll be able to answer it, I'll give a swing if it's
Thank you.
generally zoning, but just your name and address and your question would be wonderful.
Emma Stokes, I live at number 7 on Lowell, so it's adjacent to the property.
Awesome.
I guess I just want to understand the changes of the zoning, and if they're combining the 2 lots into one, does that mean that we have one large commercial lot now, and does that like impact anything for the future? Like, is it saying, you know, eventually we could have one big commercial building there, or it's not, it will still say, stay residential?
Hillary?
So when we merge the two lots, the lots will be, one unit, but the zone line will still be there, so that portion of that property will still be R6.
Okay.
So if anybody wants to do anything, they would have to come before the board.
Okay.
Thank you. Good question. All right. I'm watching the clock here, so maybe we'll do one. I think I heard your engineer was your next one,
Yep.
so sorry, Tom, we're not going to get to planning tonight, but we'll do it personally, we'll do maybe some engineering testimony would be wonderful.
Sure,
Thank
sounds great. Bill Hollows?
Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name, spell your last name.
William Hollows, Hollows.
Thank you, and I know you've appeared before us a number of times. Any changes to your credentials since the last time you were here?
No, my license is still in good standing.
It's
I
important.
imagine the board would like to accept you once again.
We will. Welcome back, Mr. Hollows.
Excellent. Can you just tell the board the steps you took to prepare yourself to give expert testimony in this matter?
Well, first we visited this site to see what it was all about, and then had a survey and a topography done specifically for this property. At that point, sat down with the client to see what he was looking for. Actually made a few different sketches of some potential parking layouts. Along the way, I think Hillary and I met with Chris Anderson one time to go over the plan that we had kind of settled on, and then prepared a site plan that you have before you.
That was my next question. Did you prepare civil engineering plans in accordance with the requirements of applicable city ordinances and the municipal land use
I did.
law? Thank you. Using sheet 2 of 8 of the plans that you prepared that were filed with the board, can you describe the existing conditions of the site?
And I just so happened to colorize sheet 2.
So I don't know if you want to mark that as an exhibit or if it's the same plan, but
It's
just.
the same plan, just colored.
I think we usually do.
Okay.
Let's be safe.
Okay, so this will be A3.
We are at the intersection of Morris Avenue and Lowell. This would be on the northwesterly side. To the top of the drawing would be the Enterprise Auto Rental location, and across Lowell Avenue is the ice cream shop there. And across the street on Morris is Washington School. The building, the masonry building that's going to be utilized for, well, it has the office and storage area plus the 2 apartments above, faces Morris and also Lowell. And then in the back left corner, you've got the masonry garage, and adjacent to that masonry garage is a frame shed. And behind the building, you've got a paved parking area, and you've got some lawn around that building. And then along the front of the building, you've got a combination of pavement and then gravel to the north side of the building. And that's where Mr. Pampalone had indicated that the trucks are parked more in the north side of the building. And presently, you've got a curb cut for the existing paved area behind the building. You've got a curb cut at the corner, and you've got another curb cut opposite the front door. That, we'll get to those later on when we go into what's proposed. But again, we have some lawn area, there's some various trees, and got a sidewalk that goes along the frontage of the property. It's granite block curb. There's an existing storm drain that runs in the street.
And can you, from a civil engineering perspective, just tell the board what's proposed and go through the rest of your plans?
Sure. I guess we'll go to A4.
And what sheet is that?
This is sheet 3. There is no new proposed, well, I shouldn't say that. The existing building basically stays the same. The stairway that goes up to that back porch area will be modified and changed. The garage, we're proposing to put that dormer on, kind of make the building look a little bit better. And the big item is we're proposing a 17-car parking lot in the back. We've got an ADA compliant parking stall adjacent to the building and adjacent to the walkway that goes around to both the apartments and also to the front door. And then we've got 16 more parking spaces. These first 4 would be for the tenants. And the 6 over on the north side of the building are the tandem parking stall areas for the commercial trucks or vans. And I've made those a little bit bigger. They're 10 feet wide by 20 feet long, just because the building, those vehicles are a little bit larger. What we're planning to do is eliminate that curb cut that those parking, there's a couple used for parking stall on the side of the building. That curb cut would be eliminated. The curb cut in the front of the building would be reduced in size. Would be 15 feet at the curb line and approximately 12 feet by the doors coming out there. We would put a stop bar and a stop sign at the property. And I think that's when, the shed that was adjacent to the building will be moved to the front, which is the gravel area, where it was the gravel area. It'll be lawn. And the dumpster enclosure is proposed to be at the end of the parking stall, which really is kind of bisected by that zone boundary line. The zone boundary line goes right down the middle of the parking lot, basically, right through the middle of the dumpster, which would be a variance because the dumpster now is in the, part of it's in the residential area. And it is the most logical spot to put this dumpster. If I were to move it, slide it over, you'll see later that that would get in the way of some proposed landscaping. There's a proposed hedge line that is going to go along the property. We show this to be a 6-foot board-on-board fence. It's going to be raised to 7 feet along this property. Go down the property line. And again, you'll see that on the landscape architect's plan at a later time. Per my first contact with Union County, they're going to want us to replace the concrete sidewalk along the frontage and replace the granite block curb along the frontage. That's their 2 big items.
And the loading zone, there's no loading zone.
There's no loading zone. I think you've heard that it's really not necessary. It's usually just Amazon trucks or UPS or FedEx kind of truck that would go in there.
And you're removing one of the curb cuts, correct? You might have said that already.
Yeah, we're removing this curb cut at the corner.
And the exit, or the curb cut to Mars Avenue, that's going to be an exit only with no parking in front of the garage?
That's the intent, yes. That would be just a parking area, and you'll see on the, again, on the landscape architect's plan, he's got a little fancier pad there, and I just show it as a paved drive.
And the lot coverage variance that I had mentioned, can you just explain that to the board?
Going back to this drawing, you've got a building here. This is the residential lot. I don't know if you can see that line that goes down. This is the residential lot. You've got some pavement on there, and you've got the building on there. And that alone exceeds the allowable for a residential lot, that coverage. But when you go to this plan and you combine everything, we are under the allowable lot coverage.
Just to clarify, I believe this is the plan that you're over on lot coverage when you add this new parking
Correct.
in the residential but when you look at the property as a whole, you're under what's permitted.
That's correct.
I'm sorry, clarification on that. You're under as permitted if it was all a B zone, or when
the
you add
R6.
both of them?
Both, if they were considered one lot, it's a little confusing. It's 35.3% total when you combine them. So I think you're permitted 40% in the R6, and what are you permitted in the B zone?
I think it's 90.
90%?
90.
So technically you're under, but if you look at it just the single residential lot, you would be over.
And just staying with this drawing, I hadn't given, the parking, I've got a parking schedule up on the right corner, which you have it on your drawings. It would change because through the review letters, this is going to be considered part of the floor area. So since it's storage, it counts as one parking stall for 1,000 square feet, so this would require one parking stall. So the total required would be 8 stalls, and we have the 17. It's 2 each for the apartments, 1 for the office, and then I think it's a couple for the storage area, the garage or the first floor of the building.
But what you're proposing is it meets the ordinance standard for off-street parking?
Yes.
And then can you just go through stormwater management?
I can. I'll go back to the plans you have in front of you. This is the grading plan. This is sheet 4. The grading plan, sheet 4. And the parking lot, as we show it, would be graded so that the water comes over towards the side of the building. There would be a storm inlet there, which would go out to another storm inlet that we would have to build out in the street. That would be built over the existing 24-inch reinforced concrete pipe that runs along our frontage. And we had proposed a dry well system on the side of the building that would take the water from the roof. We're in the process of looking to revise that for the county and put in same kind of concept, but just a different, not a dry well. It's called a infiltrator. It's a half a circle, and that would be in this area, which would be the lawn area between the curb and the fence. And again, that would be discharged out into the pipe in the street. That would be, we would have a small orifice on the bottom. We're not relying on percolation in this one. This would have a small orifice that would always drain. It's an inch and a half orifice that would be going out there. And both systems were the same. The dry wells had the same type of thing. I've had varied success in this part of town for dry wells as far as the soil types. So I just went the safer route.
And will this be an improvement over the existing stormwater management?
Well, there's nothing there now. There's an inlet here, a very small kind of yard drain in the parking lot, the paved area. I have no idea where that goes. But this will be positive. It goes out into the storm drain, which goes down the street and eventually gets into the river.
Excellent. And then on lighting?
Sheet 5 of 8. We show, well, we'll go back to what's there now, which actually I didn't have it on the plan, but it will go on a revised plan if the board would approve this. The tenant door to the apartments, there is a wall-mounted fixture right next to the door. And then under the cantilever part of the building in the back, there's a light underneath the bottom of that. And on the garage, there's 2 floodlights on the garage. And we're proposing 3 lights, 1 wall mounted and then 2 on poles to light up the parking lot. And we can take away 1 variance right away because we're going to stipulate that we're going to go to 3,000 K lights, the soft white lights. They don't make, and the letter said we go down to 3,500, but these fixtures only come in 3,000, 4,000, or 5,000, so we'll go to 3,000. You know, we're in the process of, I did talk to the lighting consultant, and that's the way we're going to go, if you were to approve it. We do have a little spillage of light onto Lowell Avenue, and we have one spot on the rental car parking lot. We do not spill onto our neighbor to the rear of this property, and then we don't go over onto Morris Avenue. My comment, typically on these small properties, it's almost impossible to keep the light from not going somewhere over the property line. And I think in this case, the fact that it's going out into the street and not on some property is a good thing. And then I don't think that 0.1 foot candle out onto the rental car lot is going to do any damage to their lighting plan over there. They just kind of accumulate. Now, in the letters, there were some comments about what lights would stay on. We're considering the 3 lights, parking lot lights would stay on from dusk to 10 o'clock at a maximum. The light by the door to the tenant access, that light would stay on overnight. And then the light under the cantilever part of the back, that light would stay on overnight just for some security. And then, you know, if a tenant comes back at past 10 o'clock, there's a way to park the car. There'll be some light from this light under the building, and then the light by the door. And then the floodlights would be replaced with something more typical of what a residential garage would have, whether it be a light between the doors, and there's a man door on that garage too, so a light by the man door, and maybe a light between the 2 garage doors, something typical of a residential house.
And then just sticking with the garage, can you tell the board what the height of the new dormer is going to be?
It doesn't change the height of the building. It's going to be the same. The dormer goes to the ridge of the building as it sits right now. And one of the comments in the letters was a grade plane calculation. We did that calculation, and it comes out to 14.2 feet.
To the top of the dormer?
Right, to the top of the dormer, which is basically the ridge line, which is the line that goes through the garage.
I think it's 17.
I'm sorry, 1742. 17 feet 5 inches.
And an accessory structure is only from 15 feet.
That's correct. So that is one of the variances. It's an existing condition. We're just trying to make the building look a little bit better with the other dormer. But it would be existing non-conforming condition regardless.
And have you had an opportunity to review the engineer's report? And if so, can you provide any comments to the board with regard to that report?
I have reviewed that. And I think basically we can comply with everything. Just one thing that came up is that Morris Avenue is a county road, and any details we do are going to have to be conformed to Morris or Union County requirements, which are basically NJDOT requirements as far as inlets, curbing, sidewalk. So that would, they have jurisdiction basically on our improvements in the street. This would be granite block curb, and I think we need to add a detail. There's a couple housekeeping things on basically on our detail sheets for the most part. And then there's some comments. This would have to go to Soil Conservation District. And what I typically do in a project like this, rather than, I'll trim the drawings down to where it's just really the grading, maybe existing conditions grading, and then soil erosion notes. because they don't need to know about lighting, they don't need to know about landscaping, and they don't need to know about all the zoning that's on the first sheet.
Excellent. I don't have any other questions.
Marie, anything you'd like to call the
Yeah,
attention of the board?
let me just review.
Yeah.
So there's, you mentioned something about the inlets and the cleanouts that are existing on the parking lot? What-
I don't know where they go. I was down there again today to look at them, and there's a little inlet. There's a little inlet in the middle of the parking lot, and it's little. It's just something you'd have in your backyard rather than in a paved parking area. And then there's a clean out. There is no water to the garage, so there's no bathroom facilities in the garage, just electric to the garage. So the cleanouts aren't for sewer. I don't know, but it would be eliminated. We would have a whole new system, so they can be eliminated from the plan.
Okay, because I think they're on the proposed grading plan, so, but you're going to take them out, right?
Yeah, we'll make a notation that they'll be removed.
Okay. And you and I discussed already, as he mentioned, that some of the details will be modified to show county improvements. You know, there'll be Belgian block curbs and not concrete curbs.
Correct,
Right.
correct.
And of course, there's that manhole that's right in the middle of the curb line, so that'll have to be modified, but again, that's in the county right away.
Yeah, they just kind of went to it and paved up to it, and maybe we can just take the curb and go around it or do something.
Right, okay.
Something a little bit better. There is a new handicap ramp, which we won't
Yes,
touch that.
okay.
We'll just, that the county put in there.
Speaking of handicap ramps, you do have a handicap ramp adjacent to the ADA parking stall, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and so, just if you could add a detail showing the flush curve that'll be there. It just wasn't clear to me, I wanted to make sure that was a.
Yeah, fortunately, it's very flat, so we don't have any problem grade-wise.
And I noticed that I'm assuming that you're not going to have a full height curb in front of that trash enclosure, is that correct?
No, we'll
That'll-
reduce that, we'll do a little housekeeping on that detail.
Okay. All right, good. No loading zone. Could we talk about that building cantilever, and there's those stairs that are coming down? I'm not sure that it's been decided on what they're gonna look like, and maybe that's something for the architect later on?
Yes.
Okay, but whatever way it happens, having this formalized parking lot allows a driver to come in and maybe not see those stairs. Is there some way that those are going to be, delineated? Is there a reason to put a bollard in? As somebody's pulling in the driveway, that's kind of it's off to the side of the drive aisle, I understand that, but,
Yeah, the reason why we hadn't done anything to date, but we can give it some thought, is the garage door is under that cantilever. You have the garage door in the back and then the garage door in the front. Maybe we could put a bollard on the far side or where the stairs come down. The aisle's wide enough that the people to get into the parking lot don't need to go under the cantilever.
no, you're absolutely right. I'm just giving it pause when I'm looking at it, that's all.
Right.
And I'm not sure that I'm convinced that it needs something. I just thought that, I can't tell how far it's sticking out. So maybe we'll talk about that with the architect later on. We'll
Okay.
make a decision on that. You did mention that there's lighting underneath the building cantilever, so that would be for the resident that's parking after hours, if
Well,
they're coming in?
yeah, I think that, yes. It is under there now.
Oh,
It's
okay.
it's a motion type light, but I would think we'd need to change it to something that could stay on overnight for security and for access for those folks.
What about at the top of the steps?
That's what I was gonna say, we probably need to put something there too.
Okay.
Where-
And is there
I don't know
anything
whether
there
that
right now?
tenant goes in that way all the time, or whether they go up the other stairs. I suppose that it's a shorter run to go to the stairs
But I
than it
think,
would be to go to.
I don't know, I think that the architecture plan showed that those are two different apartments that are being accessed. I don't think the resident, and maybe we'll talk about that with the architect later.
Okay.
All right, we'll pass that on. All right. I think that was, is there gonna be, can you talk about the utilities in the back garage? I know you said that there would be, there's electricity in there?
Electricity.
No water? Do you have any?
There's no water, and
There's no heat in there, or is,
not at this time.
okay. Any proposed?
If it were, it would really be just something to keep the dampness out, if you have, depending on what you're storing in there. Not something to bring it up to 70 degrees or,
To have somebody live in there or anything like that? And with no water?
oh,
it's your
yeah,
property.
no one living there.
Okay.
No, it's really depends on what they're storing in there.
Okay. And I noticed that the site plan also has a future layout for an AC unit, but it's not proposed on this plan, is that correct?
That's correct. All of the units actually that I saw was there in the summer months, they have window air conditioners. And even the office in the front has a window air conditioner above the door. That was just really to show that there's a location for the future if they do improve those apartments.
I think that's all I had.
I think generally, would you accept as a condition of the application, incorporation of the engineer's letter, just to capture all that? Okay, thank you. It's about nearing a logical time to break. I know my apologies to the other witnesses. I know you're raring and ready to go. Before we do, though, are there any questions from members of the board, just so Mr. Hollows, you can at least take away, or other witnesses? Anything you want to flag?
Yeah,
Maybe we'll
not
start
only
with
Mr.
Tom.
Hollows, but the remaining witnesses are obviously planner, architect, and is there the landscape?
Landscape architect.
I have questions for the landscaper.
Okay. I mean, did you have questions?
Yes,
Please.
for the engineer. I see the architect prepared nice drawings for improvement of the building. Were there any structural improvements to the structure itself, or you don't think that's necessary?
That'd be the architect.
Okay, thank you.
Question?
One question. What other locations did you contemplate for the trash bin? Were there any scenarios where you took it out of the R district?
No, we really concentrate on the parking layout more than, and then you normally put those at the end of an aisle because this way you can back into them or go, depending on what kind of truck comes there, whether they back in and slide it out or whether they pick it up and dump it over.
And, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna jump in. I think you said it before, if you move it to the right, which takes it out of the R6, it's going to interfere with the landscaping that's proposed.
You couldn't move it forward and down? So right now you have it set back in what appears to be a 7th kind of commercial spot, which I believe was not identified, correct, that spot? You showed six.
No,
six
they're really just a
three-standing
6,
spots.
but
Correct.
that's just
So what is
another
that
one.
extra paved area there?
Is
Why
that
couldn't you
an
bring that?
actual space, right? That's a parking spot.
This is regular parking space that goes with these. Just happens to be on that side, but the 6 tandem spots are the ones for the commercial vehicles. And this is really a back out area for these vehicles, these 2 really, and then they can drive out.
Is there actual curb, a curb cut, so to speak, into the storage garage? I'm saying garage, since it's not really a garage.
Really just a sidewalk across the front. And we'd extend what we need to get to the parking lot.
So the garage is not used for vehicle storage. There's no vehicle access to the garage. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Any other questions from the board for Mr. Hollows? Okay, Ms. Tom, yes?
Just one quick.
Please,
So, good evening. I think you mentioned that there were existing floodlights on the garage. Will they be remaining?
They would be removed and yeah, and then we would put on some kind of a light similar to what you would see on a residential
A
garage.
compliant lighting fixture?
Yes.
Thank you.
It's Excellent. And then just behind you, member of the interested public, we're going to hear continuation of this at a later date, so you can come back with additional questions. Was there anything you'd like to ask tonight they can carry forward with them? You just come up to the, sorry, just come up to the podium again for me. And just your name and address again for the record.
Emma Stokes, 7 Lowell Avenue. I was happy to hear that you changed the lighting, because the lighting pollution was the biggest concern for me. But does that mean that there's no longer any lighting variance being requested?
So there is a lighting variance for where the light spills over.
Okay.
Bill, can you just show her where the light
Sure.
spills over?
The light spills over this property line along Lowell Avenue, but we're talking about 0.2 foot candles, probably less than what the moon does.
Okay.
When,
So that's coming from the light that's attached to the building?
correct,
not the
that's the
other
one
two?
that basically lights up the entrance and the handicap parking stall.
Okay. And then I was just curious about the lighting in general, because in the plan it shows a light would be shining the illumination wider than going this way, like it goes farther side to
Mhm.
side than it does front to back. So I'm just wondering how that happens. Are the lights shielded? And is like the light that's next to my property, is
they're
that
all-
gonna be a
they're-
shield so it blocks some of the light coming my way?
The lights mount on, the pole would be back here, the light is something like this,
Mhm.
and they're getting to where they're not much bigger than this. They're all LED lights, and they can direct those lights, they're smaller lights, and it's a type of distribution too, with the reflector that they use.
Oh, okay.
That's how it goes out.
Okay, so they don't need actual shields, you're saying the bulbs are directing?
Yeah, they're, if you look at the newer ones, they're just individual bulbs in there.
Okay, all right.
But you have to replace the whole light, you just can't replace a bulb when it doesn't work
okay.
anymore.
And you buy it that way, you're not like adjusting it or anything? You
No.
buy the light that way? Okay, and then the light's totally flat?
It's
not
flat.
angled up or anything?
No, it's not, no, I know the ones you're talking about.
Yeah.
No, they're not, these are flat.
Okay, all right, that's good, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, awesome. Well, let's then break, at least for this application for the evening. Hillary, my trustee assistant here, Stephanie, tells me that February 21st is your lucky date. It's the next available. So thank you for your assistance there. We would ask that with no further notice and waiving the time with which the board has to act, that we would hear this application again, likely the first on the agenda for tonight, if that's any assurance.
Sounds great.
Something. We'd ask for a motion to that effect. Somebody?
Moved.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
All right, second. Now we need voice vote, or we need a roll call for that?
Thank you.
Roll call. All right. Thanks, Hillary.
Vice Chairman Steiner,
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mr. Malay,
Yes.
Mr. Loiketz,
Yes.
Ms. Toth,
Yes.
Ms. Sager,
Yes.
Chairman Spur.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. Let's get some housekeeping out of the way. Thank you very much. What are we doing first? Resolutions for memorialization.
So first, we have 130 Hobart Avenue. That's Peter and Shannon Karches, ZB-23-2208, Block 2302, Lot 10. The eligible voters are Chairman Spur, Vice Chairman Steiner, Ms. Newell, Ms. Sager, Mr. Feskins, and Mr. Yuko. Can I have a motion? And-
Second.
Okay. Vice Chairman Steiner,
Yes.
Ms. Newell? I'm sorry, whoa. Ms. Sager?
Yes.
Mr. Feskins?
Yes.
Mr. Yuko?
Yes.
Chairman Spur?
Yes.
The motion carries. The next one we have is 42 Norwood Avenue. That's Kent Place School, ZB-23-2192, Block 1901, Lot 1. The eligible voting members are Vice Chairman Steiner, Ms. Newell, Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. Loiketz, Ms. Toth, and Ms. Sager. Can we have a motion?
Moved. Okay, then I'll take the second.
Okay, good. Vice Chairman Steiner,
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mr. Loiketz,
Yes.
Ms. Toth,
Yes.
Ms. Sager.
Yes.
The motion carries. So the next resolution is a resolution for denial. That's 3 Drumhill Drive, Antonio Rivas Cortez, ZB-23-2181, Block 5601, Lot 5. The eligible voting members are Chairman Spur, Mr. Loiketz, Ms. Toth, Mr. Feskins. Can we have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay. Chairman Spur,
Yes.
Mr. Loiketz,
Yes.
Ms. Toth,
Yes.
Mr. Feskins.
Yes.
The motion carries. Next we'll do are the minutes for approval. The minutes are from November 20th, 2023. We'll conduct a voice vote, but we'll exclude the members who were absent, which were Mr. Malay and Chairman Spur. Can we have a motion
So moved.
and a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good, the motion carries.
We do a quick shuffle of the agenda, so before we break into executive session, the 2024 calendar adoption, which Stephanie's already working to actively fill. We're into February already. I think this made the rounds. I know, Joe, you had some questions and suggestions. Some other folks did maybe as well. Really, all we need to do is accept this, and then Stephanie can go out and publish it. Are there any questions or concerns before we adopt it?
My only suggestion was, we have, at the bottom, you have 2 asterisks, one for 1 asterisk, one for 2. And they don't refer to anything because we don't have any meetings scheduled in the Whitman Community Room, and we don't have any extra meetings. So can we just delete those
Sure.
2 things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just had a question because Juneteenth is still a new enough holiday. Is it a Monday Is that celebrated on Monday, which would be June 17th?
I believe so,
So
and
the conflict we saw there, I think it was June 19th was Wednesday. Monday is the middle school graduation, so we're trying to avoid that. But because Juneteenth is a recognized now federal holiday, we couldn't take the Wednesday that week. So we settled on the Monday. Is that right?
hold on.
Okay.
My
No,
voice
I
is-
just didn't know if it was a Monday federal holiday or it
No,
fell
so
on the
it was
date
on
It
itself.
actually falls on the 19th.
Okay.
The 19th, which is the
When it falls on the
Wednesday.
weekend, it's a real screw up because the state does
Yeah.
Monday and the feds do Friday or the reverse. I forgot.
Yeah, so we had looked at that, and we settled
Okay.
on Monday as preferable.
Okay.
So Monday, Monday
Okay.
is the day that works.
All right, so I think barring any further questions, comments, we've got only one meeting in August, so that's a small win. We'll take that.
It's our vacation.
It's our vacation, that's right.
Yeah, we still have more meetings than Common Council.
That's right.
Our single benefit.
Our one gift to Stephanie though a year, so there you go. All right. So what do we just need a roll call, I guess, for calendar adoption? I don't know. Voice
Yeah.
vote.
Voice vote,
All
yes.
right, let's
Simple voice.
All right. We need a motion, I suppose, though.
So moved.
Anybody want to second that?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Awesome. See you next year, I guess. All right. Next on the agenda is executive session where we will discuss RFQs for the next year.
Well, wait, can I just throw them in the back too?
Yeah, we will, yeah, for sure. But I just want to make sure before they cut us off here, because yes, Marie and Tom and Andy are going to go away. We'll miss you dearly. Is we do want to acknowledge on the record that we will enter an executive session. When we break from executive session, we'll adjourn the meeting. We will conduct no further public business after the executive session concludes. And then we can cut the meeting. Yes. Okay.
So are we recessing? Is that the-
So I think we're going to motion to enter into executive session.
Moved.
So moved.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
You can do a voice vote for that. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, professionals, you may scurry away.
We shall.
And plant no listening devices.
That's right. Thanks. Okay.
Okay,
Cool.
motion
All
to
right.
adjourn.
So we're back on motion adjourned, second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, next meeting, December 18th.
All those in favor,
this one. I'm sorry, I couldn't see this one through.